Hello and welcome to episode 377 of the Destiny DCP plus SideQuest. I don't even know what this thing is called anymore.
Well, the DCP is a currency in Dragon's Dogma, so.
Is it really?
God, it gets...
Dragon's
We have
Dogma.
the
I played a
perfect
lot of
name
Dragon's
for
Dogma.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. A lot of Dragon's
I'm
Dogma,
excited
a
to hear
lot
about
of
it.
Rise of Ronin, a little bit
Oh,
of
you
Stellar
played Rise of
Blade.
Ronin.
Yeah.
Oh, Briar's been gaming.
I've been gaming.
For
It's been
real.
cold and raining. It even snowed today. So I've been just inside under a slanket, a snuggie, if you will.
Slanket.
I can't even
Well-
bring myself to go to the gym. I just huddled up, ogre mode.
Cold. Yeah, your body doesn't want to move when it's cold
Yeah.
and rainy and snowy.
Yeah.
You just want to stay home and relax.
Exactly.
It's true.
We didn't have a show last week, so we have a lot of news.
Yeah, we sure didn't. It felt good.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Take a week off.
I took two.
You did. Well, yeah, you were
Yeah.
busy. You were busy, so.
GDC and then last
Oh
week.
yeah, how'd it go, friend?
It was good. I got to hang out with Eris, Morla, and do
Yeah.
the Game Audio Network Guild Awards. A mouthful. But yeah, it's always awesome to be around like talented friggin' people and see all the awards. Yeah, Destiny was nominated for one or two categories. Didn't get it, but man, what was the one that kept winning all night? Jeez, I even forgot. I have to go back and look. But
Alan
Oh,
Wake.
Cards.
Star Wars, Jedi, Survivor, which I
Oh,
realized
really?
as I was reading it off the paper.
Wow.
My only note, I was like, I kept saying Star Wars, Jedi. No, Star Wars, Jedi, Survivor. And I was like, no, wait, the colon's after. And I'm in the room with all these audio people. I'm thinking like, oh man, they're going to be like, psh, this guy.
This guy.
But anyway, Star Wars, Jedi, Survivor won a lot. So
Wow.
Really?
Actually, a little surprised.
got a good audio.
Not because
in
it was
there,
not because it
apparently.
was bad. Just
Yeah, again, these are audio experts, their guild.
Yeah.
They give each other awards. It's very similar to like the Dice Awards, which is an overall peer-to-peer awards. But it's just really cool to see, yeah, like the stuff that wins.
Now I'm only
Uh.
like halfway done with that game. And now I gotta, for the rest of my playthrough, I'm definitely gonna be like over
be
listening to
listening.
everything with my
Yeah.
dead ears that
you gotta
I
listen
can't
there.
hear anything with anyway.
Speaking of dead ears, I might get them soon because I've been to a concert. That's why I wasn't here last
Oh.
week. I went to LA, flew to LA for a concert. We flew in the day before the concert. Of course, had the day of the concert because it's way too late to finish the concert and fly back.
Yeah.
And then morning after that, we flew back home. But I'm gonna have to get me some earplugs.
You know, I have
don't kill my
heard
ears.
a lot of like mixed reviews on like those concert grade earplugs that like supposedly like allow you to hear the music but like deaden it. You know what I've
Yeah, they
heard
lower it a
are
little
the
bit.
best are Apple AirPod Pros.
Really?
Yeah, I was
Really?
super
'Cause I have
surprised.
those.
It's so funny. One of the guys who second shoots for me whenever I go do weddings, like whenever there's a live band and stuff, he's always got those in. And he's like, dude, they work great. They're like
Yeah.
perfect. I was like, okay, I need to
'Cause
try them out.
They lower the noise level, but they allow it to still pass through like
Mm.
kind of tonally as you want to hear it, right? So that's what I hear. I have never tested this. I've not been to a concert with my AirPod Pros in, but it makes sense, kind of. I'd be worried about hearing damage still because don't the way those noise cancel is to just like reverse the frequency of like the sound that's too noisy and just blast that in your ear.
I've always wondered about that. I don't know.
Well, they are sealed, right? So meaning I think
They are sealed.
Everything comes through a mic. So meaning you are getting, I think you're fine, right? Like it's not like you're getting full volume. They're already providing some.
I know the one that a lot of people recommend is just one that musicians use because they have to be able to hear their other bandmates. So, but they also want to protect their ears. So those tend to always do a pretty good job. But yeah, the Zemnis in chat was saying that they warned me, but I was like, funny thing is, this concert was quieter than the Creepy Nuts concert. So God knows what happened. to my
Creepy Nuts go
ears.
loud.
It was loud. It was, well, I was saying the vibe of, so we went to the Ado concert. That was the one I just went to. And that was very much so like a concert experience, right? It's very produced, high production, lots of visuals. Whereas the Creepy Nuts concert was like, you're in the 90s and you go to an underground hip hop club kind of experience. So it was very loud.
It's funny that actually I saw something exactly like that in Japan. Some random friend that we knew, and they took me to some underground, like just super loud, kind of crazy and just weird in its own way, right? As things can be in Japan.
That's great.
In a good way, though. And
yeah,
I totally forgot until you mentioned it that way. Yeah, it was some kind of blend of like Japanese hip hop and something else, and a lot of like neon lights and weirdness. But
yeah,
cool.
they will blow your ears out and blind you with all the lights that they use. They are not afraid to just be like bang bang every way. But it was great. It was really, really, really good. Had a good time. It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Awesome to hear.
You traveled. Awesome to see.
I
I
traveled.
know you don't. You only do it in certain when it's important. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think going to if we find a concert we really want to go to, I think that's going to be a thing that we're doing now. So we're going to a concert at the end of April for Yoasobi in San Francisco.
Oh, that's right. Hey, I know some people in San Francisco.
yeah, I have to send the details to you.
Who?
Yeah.
Destin's
guy.
there, I think.
I didn't have a very good punchline since I just assumed we were going to move past it. Not Destin. Not anymore.
Good times.
We kicked him out. Sent him packing to LA.
Oh, adios, muchacho. Enjoy your reign.
Right. Yep.
So, a lot going on this week.
A lot going on with Destiny.
Yeah, a lot of Destiny stuff going on. We got a lot of other game stuff going on. We're going to try and get through it. I don't know if we're going to make it. We'll see.
We just have to. Well,
I'll tell you what. We just don't read every patch note and we're good. You know?
I think that
Let's
works.
not do
like,
that.
So we could just start with Into the Light, right? And we could just do bullet points. What's happening in Into the Light? Well, Rush Hour. Rush Hour's coming back. It's not called Rush Hour. 0 Hour and Whisper. They're both coming back.
I thought you were talking about the Chris Tucker Jackie Chan classic.
That's where my mind was. In 0 Hour. And they're bringing with them craftable versions of their exotics. So, of course, Whisper of the Worm and Outbreak Perfected. You're going to be able to craft those.
And Outbreak looks spicy, like really good.
Yeah.
It's been eternally spicy.
It's
one of my favorite guns.
With Head Seeker or Rewind rounds or Rapid Hit, like all really great options for like one of the best primary boss damage weapons in the game. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. I don't traditionally I don't really craft hardly anything just because the time it takes. I've talked about it. That's not a match for me, but that gun probably will force me to do it.
Yeah. I'm not as keen on the Whisper one, but
Right.
Whisper and 0 Hour are arguably the best exotic missions to play, so I don't really care. Like, I'm just excited to have fun and play them.
Yeah, I love the atmosphere of Whisper. I remember going through that the first time, and then he's like, drown in the deep. I'm like, this is scary. What is going on? I'm scared.
I actually wanted to ask on those two, like but I'm no expert here, so you guys tell me. How are we not going to be in a world where it's like, well, what's the top weapons for the new Final Shape raid? Outbreak Perfected and Whisper of the Worm, craftable with the, like.
Oh, you think they're going to be too strong, like power creep?
I mean, do you think that's? It just feels like they've already been such monsters in the past, and then they obviously had tried to adjust around that, but then they're just going to be like, okay, but now it's bad.
I think there's like two different things going on. One is they're constantly doing these balance patches that are going to change like what we use. Like even today, there's a whole bunch of them that they're going to talk about. But also on top of that, they keep coming out with like unique perk. Like we didn't have Envious Assassin like I think a year ago, maybe a little more than that or something like that. And like some of like the top perks in the game like are new ones, and they keep being new and they keep adding different things like or changing what the perk does. Like they just changed Deconstruct to where it basically an infinite ammo hack if you know how to do it. I'm going to do a video about it tomorrow, and it is very crazy. Like just stuff keeps like stacking and stacking in interesting ways that isn't like broken, I feel like, yet. We'll see. But definitely could be exotic wise. Like it could be like, oh, this is the thing. Like Whisper is the only thing to use in a raid.
But it is cool that the 0 Hour and is the mission called the Whisper? Is that I
Yeah.
actually don't remember.
Yep.
It is. I never really realized that. I always
Me
just
neither.
called
Yeah.
it like the Whisper mission, and I grinded out so many like catalysts and stuff in there. But
What I
you
do
know,
like,
what's
you
that?
you were about to say it, I think. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say they're reprise, they're revision 2 now. Is that
Yes.
what you thought I was gonna say?
Yeah. How
Yeah.
they're reworking
Mm.
stuff.
They are,
Yes.
yeah.
They
Very
they called
excited to
out
see
like YouTubers are gonna have to redo their guides for this one.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
they need something to do for the next. Yeah, we're 60 days out, so
And
we were talking
also,
about that for a
Pretty
while.
close.
one of
in
the
the
biggest things
machine.
with the reprise or with those missions, like being so iconic, was the secrets of them. Like when they brought Whisper in,
Yeah.
like there weren't enough secrets in Destiny, and I like would bet money that they are trying to keep that theme in the way that they've changed stuff to where it feels fresh, like new secrets, even though the environment is the same. I bet they're going to try to keep that tone because they already like said not only have they changed stuff, but they've changed like some of the puzzles. Like they said at the end of 0 Hour, it's not key cards. There's like some other thing you do to do secret stuff for the ship. So it'll be interesting to see what all they have there. Oh, and new bosses too. They mentioned that, right? Like
Yeah, the
there's
Pantheon or
different
whatever you mean?
bosses. Yeah. Oh no, not even the Raid
no.
Pantheon. Like
No,
within
that's
these
yeah.
missions, there's different bosses
Oh.
than there used to be. So be interesting.
I missed that part. Wow, yeah, I was watching it off to the side there. But like, yeah, it's funny because they're like, maybe, just maybe face a scary robot called Trevor. But I guess it was never the boss anyway, right? I don't even remember.
Yeah. Just iconic.
You know what's funny? I just remember the missions. I don't remember like there was bosses at the end of them.
hmm
I don't
It was a
remember at
mad
all.
rush to in the Whisper mission initially to kill the boss before he
Yep.
failed.
Yeah, that's right.
was-
I
it
mean, I
was
remember
stressful.
grinding it for the ship and everything. So, bleh. Well, that means it's been long enough, so it should be enjoyable to go back to.
Seems like
Yeah.
a pretty good use of time to like rejigger something like that, especially the secrets where you get so much kind of traffic based on like, oh, well, we got to figure out the new secrets, right? So there's going to be, kind of, I don't want to call it like free publicity, but there's going to be videos made. There's going to be Reddit posts about like
Yeah.
how to get through these new things. It's going to like generate buzz for these new missions, which without like creating a whole new mission, it seems like a pretty good way to, kind of create a little
Yeah,
buzz
I
and
mean,
get people
it's
interested
just
again.
it seems very intentional between I believe last week was the episode that didn't cover the return of like Mountaintop and Recluse and all that. Is that right?
Yeah.
But like that combined with this, it seems. I know we've talked about how that like the intent of Into the Light is to maybe bring back some Guardians and like, but it is you're seeing it. It's like, well, this is like, here's all your favorites, and there's a lot of people I think that have lapsed since then, and so in one way, folks who keep up with it like us, I think there's the like, well, it's more stuff that's coming back like this. Of course, it's going to be something's coming back. It always is. And you're kind of washes over you. But then there's the other side, which I feel like I heard a lot more buzz from like, oh my God, so they might be able to capture some of that old school excitement, for lack of a better way to put it, right. And then try to set up the springboard into final shape.
Yeah, we're gonna have Onslaught, of course, which is like a horde mode-ish with some returning weapons to get with different rolls on them. And then you've got the 2 exotic missions coming back. You've got the raid gauntlet thing that we don't
Which,
even
what
know
even?
anything about, but it just sounds like a boss rush
Pantheon.
mode in Destiny, which would be really fun. That'd be super fun if it was a boss rush mode.
Yeah, they say a raid boss gauntlet, and that starts
Yeah.
on April 30th. Have the opportunity to face raid bosses in a weekly challenge with escalating difficulties and rewards.
And
That's
it
Will that
coming
be
up.
match made?
talked about being able to get adepts from that too, I think, like adept raid weapons.
Really?
I'm pretty sure.
That'd be cool.
I know. So that would be interesting. It seems like more hardcore, but I don't know. I'm still interested in it, even as somebody who doesn't raid a ton.
Yep. Yeah, as Breyer asked, like, oh, can you matchmake into that? And I mean, they say rally your clan or use Fireteam Finder. So my guess is
My
like
guess is
Fireteam
no.
Finder.
But it is exciting to just have the raid bosses.
Yeah.
And that's almost why I kind of wish it was match made. I know that they don't want to do that, but giving someone experience of just the boss could be a really nice way to kind of bring them into the raid as a whole. It's like, well, now you know how to do the boss.
True, yeah.
But yeah, it's cool. And this is all free. All of this is free. So
Man, they're
that's great.
really now that you said it that way, I'm like, oh, they're really pushing for that because with the weapons they're bringing back, they said on stream last week that Succession and the other one, the two raid weapons that they're bringing over into the reprised weapons. The reason that they're bringing those specific weapons is to get people interested in the raid so that they can go get the craftable versions in the raid. And so you've got that, and then you've also got the raid Pantheon, and maybe between those two things, like really encourage players to hey go do the raid, check out what the bosses are like, check out what the weapons are like, just hit all the different categories.
Yeah, it's great. It's definitely a lot more than I expected with Into the Light. So I'm gonna check it out on Tuesday and mess around with some stuff. If I end up playing it a bunch, great. But if not, like this is still an incredible thing to add to a community that is waiting so long for the next big content drop. And this is a lot that you can get stuck into while you're waiting.
And some
it's
of us
free.
will still be waiting a little bit longer for the Crucible maps that they showed off this week.
They did show off. We got to actually see them this time, which
What do you
was
think,
great.
Watts? What do you think?
I think they look great. I think visually, I was impressed by the visuals of all three of them. Really hard to tell how it's gonna play. Really hard. Even if you play it like just one time, it's hard to tell. So just looking at it, it's tough. What did you think, Lego?
I loved it. I really think obviously the Neomuna map, like everybody else is saying, it feels like a Halo map is what it feels like really clean, all the smooth surfaces, very symmetrical. Like it looked beautiful and looked like immediately when you see it, you're like, oh, I could fire from there, I could hide over there, I could approach this way and that way, and it just looks like a great map. Eventide, the Europa one, that was all covered in snow. It felt like there was a D2 map that was out in the beginning that was like Fallen Catch area, and they got rid of it. It was real small. It kind of felt like that, but maybe like medium-sized version of it. But it felt very chaotic in the middle. Like there was like 10 pathways to the middle, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's gonna be a dead zone. Like, so that'll be interesting. But then I think the one that kind of scared everyone was the pyramid ship one because of we've had the big pyramid ship map forever. And so when they introduced dissonance here, everybody's like, oh, is this a big map? Because it kind of looks big the way the camera was floating around. But the more I like looked at it and thought about the perspective we were viewing it from was a floating camera, I was like, that's not us like on the ground playing.
Right.
It's going to feel, like you said, it's going to feel totally different once you start playing it a few times. I feel like it's going to feel like Midtown was kind of the feel I got of it. It was like it feels like Midtown size because it can kind of be big depending on where you're playing at it. So and they mentioned Midtown as one of their maps that they were really proud of. So it makes sense that they would build one that was kind of that size.
Yeah, we know that they're all supposed to be designed for 3v3, so I would assume that they're on the smaller side in general. So I'm really excited for smaller maps because Lord knows I want them.
Yeah, because we didn't have a small map this weekend in Trials. We had multiplex.
I saw that it was multiplex.
Oh my gosh. So I actually thought it was really fun. Like I know there were some people complaining about it, but like me and DeFly, like there were lots of like Trials people who always played who were like, this, like I get that you wouldn't want this all the time, but it was fun to like switch it up. And I agree. Like I thought it had me digging in my vault and like, what can I match with a scout? What scout do I even use? I never use scouts. Like, should I use a pulse rifle? Should I use, it had me just trying all sorts of exotics out that I never played with. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed having something different, but obviously don't want that every weekend. And I'm very excited about these new maps still.
Yeah. All right.
There were two other things during the stream. They mentioned character customization and a name change.
Yeah, people have been waiting for that for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so free name change. Another one, if you've used one already, you got a free name change. And then the character customization, we thought that wasn't coming till much later on, and it's coming Into the Light. You'll be able to change your character right away.
Nice. Yeah, very nice.
Maybe I'll take my helmet off in the tower. Doubt it.
Well, see, Watts is used to like the extreme character creator, so I don't know if she can go back to something like this.
It's I don't think I need to
Sir Dragon's Dogma.
recustomize. I don't need to.
It was a shocking experience to see the creator was exactly the same in Destiny 2 that it was in Destiny 1.
Yes.
It was, yeah. I remember being like, oh, okay. They're also doing some stuff for new lights to try and help get them into the game a little bit easier, which I always love to see. So they're doing quite a bit. They're doing like a new light tutorial skip and a new light kit. They've got tools for the job, which is covering new light kits to help bridge the gap between new guardians and seasoned defenders. You'll be able to head to the tower and choose a kit handpicked from Igor. So the idea is that it's supposed to set you up with a build and everything ready to go. So you can kind of have a good build and experiment with stuff before you get into the nitty gritty and have to figure it out. So it's got 2 legendary weapons, 1 exotic, 4 rare armor pieces, and a legendary class item, and subclass abilities with aspects and fragments.
That's good.
And that's
The subclass
got
abilities
nothing
with
to do
aspects and
with
fragments.
Eververse. That you just go to Ikora and they set you up there.
Yes.
That's great news.
Yep. Yeah, you know what's interesting? I swear we talked about exactly that scenario on the show, and something I recalled saying something about like, oh man, like who cares? It's like all these old weapons. It's just like hook them up with something so they can get started. It sounds like that's great. Exactly. Like remove this friction of all of the loot.
The screen shows this person's clearly a warlock, and it's like, choose your new light kit, and you've got Voidwalker, Dawnblade, and Stormcaller, and it says that it's got your campaign ready gear, subclass abilities, exotic armor quest, and you just pick which one you want to go with as a new light kit.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's great. I like to see that.
Yeah, get them in there, get them having fun. Like 2014 was the time to discover loot and grind and be a part of that. But now every game is doing that, and frankly, I'm worn out on it. So yeah, it really is like we talk about the friction to get lapsed players or even brand new players. They're going to need more than just a light kit here, or a kit of gear. But this is nice to see. But like Fireteam Finder, you can see they continue to stack these pieces. So I'm curious to see what else might be. Yeah, what else might be out there for Final Shape? I mean, I know we all talk about the quest system, and we groan as well when you got to go back to the Cosmodrome as a new player, and so I don't know what else is maybe around that in here, because they talk about exploring the Cosmodrome, right?
Yeah.
Have they changed much of it? I don't know if they had talked much about that, but
they also are bringing back Gift of the Thunder Gods, which is a thing that happened in Season of Plunder, where you could just get like a bunch of gear to just be on level and ready to go. So they're also bringing that plus the new light kit stuff. So they're really making sure that you are like ready to go. You can jump into, like, if you join with Into the Light, you've got all that stuff that you can do for free. You can experience like raid bosses. You can experience the onslaught stuff. So yeah, I think it's good. It's definitely good. Definitely good stuff from Bungie.
I hope Perfect World is like you can, and pardon me, I don't have all the details here. This was a big update, but like grab the new light kit. You didn't do the Cosmodrome actually. Final Shape is out, and sometimes they do like play the first like level or something for free. But even if not, hey, I just want to hop in. Never mind all this tutorial stuff. Can I just start the first can I just jump in the Final Shape campaign with this new kit as an example and the power level and give it a shot? And hopefully that is an option too, versus, oh, you got to put in, I forget if it was, 10, 20 hours of figuring out all this stuff from starting the Cosmodrome to getting to the point of like, because you had to like do strikes and they had all of this like introductory stuff, which I do think obviously is important, but can that wait until, hey, just try playing this campaign,
Well, the good news is you can just join the front lines right away. So you can choose to skip the New Light campaign. They said that this is for players if you're experienced with a game like Destiny 2. You can just go right to the tower. You'll have all your stuff available, and you can start right away from the tower.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, hopefully that.
I hope that that's really simple, like in direction of what to do, and that the new player isn't hit with 5 billion ads on the screen when they first log in, because you
Yes.
see videos of that all the time. I'm like, please, not 10 Eververse things as soon as somebody logs in. Like,
Yeah.
hit them with that later, please. Jez had a great video. I don't know if y'all saw that. It was him teaching his wife, or letting his wife play
did see
Destiny
that.
for the first time, and it was incredible for the new light experience specifically. Not just like somebody who doesn't play video games learning how to do it, but like seeing what they had to go through to even play the game, and like all the ads that they were hit with, what the game told you, like how your abilities worked or didn't tell you sometimes. It was really fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's worth noting on that front, they say next week they're detailing more about that new light skip tutorial, or skipping new light tutorial skip, and this kit. So we'll learn even more about it next week.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, next week is also where we get the final shape stream. 9:30, we get to see more about the final shape finally. So definitely into, because that could be anything. That could be, it could be anything. I have no idea. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, they do say it's a gameplay preview, which is interesting.
They
Something
do,
about
yep.
this list of topics for next week, which is massive. Now that's for next week's TWID, whatever. But yeah, like I wonder, in other words, if that final shape developer gameplay preview on April 9th will be substantial, or it'll be like, here's a new trailer and a little bit, like, what would the gameplay be? I wonder, because we'll be,
I don't know.
maybe
Maybe they'll show the
52
Pale
days
Heart.
out or whatever.
Maybe
Yeah,
they're just
I
like,
mean, that'd be
here's
awesome
the
to
new
show the
kind of
beginning.
patrol area.
Yeah, maybe.
It sounds to
exciting,
me too like it's gonna be a pre-recorded thing. Like, it doesn't say
Definitely.
live anywhere on this, which I kind of
Yeah.
want. Like, the live streams have been cool to like see behind it, but for the final shape, like I really
Did
want
the-
them to like make it look legit. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, some of the cinema team was tweeting about it, like, we put a ton into this. Like, it
Yeah.
looks incredible. So I'm pumped to see it just from looking at their tweets and everything. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I
Yeah,
really want to see it.
people call live streams, in format and less so of truth of it being live. Like, actually, I assumed, and I don't think they were interacting with chat. Maybe they were, but I thought the last 3 live streams were all pre-recorded, right? Because they're so.
Oh, really?
They were
I just
interacting with
assumed.
chat a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were
Were
interacting
they?
with chat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
were
it was
actually
definitely all
okay.
live based
I
on what
stand
happened with
corrected.
the friend invites.
Which makes all the
Well,
players seem that much more impressive. They're like, oh yeah, they did a good job.
They did a
had.
great job.
Yeah, wow. I was watching it off to the side there. I didn't realize that, but I would have just pre-recorded them. But yeah, I assume the next one. Maybe you're right about that then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be like a 30-minute Vidoc or something like that.
You know
with
what I
gameplay
really
in it.
hope? You know what I really hope we see in there is, I hope that we see the witness, like the big bad, the way that we're gonna see it in the game. Because right now the enemy is so undefined. Like, yeah, I know that we know what the witness is from the one cutscene mid-season we got somewhere, but there just hasn't been much development other than, if you pre-ordered, I think this is what it is. If you pre-ordered the final shape, you got some booklet or something. I didn't get the physical copy, so I don't know. But there's like a bunch of lore in there that is just like really in depth about what the witness is, what the intent is, where they come from, that they actually had different factions before they became the witness, and it was all very fascinating, but none of that is in the game. And I hope they like start fleshing some of that out so that we can get excited to like go in there and finish the fight, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I
All
agree.
right, Halo.
I had to throw in as many as I could.
I like it.
I like it.
Gonna finish the fight.
Sir.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting times. I sort of was mumbling about it before, but we've talked. We're like, when is the train gonna start rolling? It's rolling.
It is rolling, yeah.
And Watts, you nailed it before, which was like, yeah, I think I joked about. I was like, well, Into the Light, like, they needed to extend the time. I am surprised. Like, was it always the plan to bring back these exotic missions, and like, or did they like decide, oh, we have this extra 3 months, let's do that, because it actually does feel like a really good fit. In other words, was this supposed to like overlap and roll out with like last season? I don't know, but either way, it is a lot now. All of a sudden, it's not just like, hey, there's a new mode and some Guardian Games type guns to get. Like it feels like honestly, there's not enough time if you really get into it to do all this. So if you do plan to, when you're ramping up, you pretty much got to start now. I mean, I got to start cleaning out my vault. That's my main goal. Everything else,
Do you
yeah,
though?
they
You're
just
gonna have
give
to
us
get
more
100
slots.
extra spots.
Yeah.
there's
There you
nothing.
go.
There's
That's
nothing. Dude, watch their live stream where they're like, yeah, we cleaned our vault out. They show a whole page. I know it was a joke, but that is what happens. You fill an entire page with like just grinding one thing and not having the tool to like look at this version of the weapon. Like it's a joke, but it's not a joke. I want the thing that sits between for gear management, but you've heard my spiel on it. But for real, my plan is legitimately I got to take out at least like another 100 slots, which would give me that 200 buffer. And then of course, I want to check out Onslaught, and I'm thinking, man, that Outbreak Perfected to craft it might have to get put on the list.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just delete everything that's not like a gun that I use regularly or an exotic.
It's the best if you can
Stronger man than
do
I.
that,
Fun.
you just do it because you're gonna replace it. If you're playing Destiny, you're gonna replace it. So
I mean, I got guns that are
Yeah.
like so old that I don't even remember why I kept them at this point.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a bit of a meme, but it's like it's less about wanting to keep stuff just because I don't know what to do with it. It's more like I have to look at it because
Right.
there's
The
nothing
time
again in
investment is what-
between. Yes, when you
Yeah.
finish an event and it drops and you're standing there, you want to go again into the next thing. There's no tool in the game that's like, oh, do you want to look at this real fast? You gotta like pull up a web page and like GG. Hold on, guys, before we. And I'm never gonna do that. That's not fun. I hate that. So I really, I harp on it for years and years. I do hope Final Shape still holds more than just 100 spots in the vault. I don't want vault space. You can keep it at 500. Give me gear management.
Nightshade in chat
It's
says he's got
rough.
FOD, fear of deletion, and I tell you that rings true for me.
Fear of deletion.
See,
you
I
go.
only have it because I have to review stuff and like go back to it and like compare and that kind of, or like, something has kill
Yeah.
clip and no other archetype, but that one has kill clip, so I gotta keep it even though I'll never use it. Like that kind of thing. Like if I
Yeah.
didn't though, I'd be very tempted by Briar's full delete.
Just
It's like
delete it all,
starting
yeah.
over a Pokemon game, like just I'll catch them all again.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing a lot for the job there, right? But I mean, there are a lot of players, I think. Let me walk that back. Everybody's plays differently, and I don't have the numbers, and so it's easy. I know for everyone to make fun of me and like, why don't you have data delete everything in your vault because like you're a hoarder, and like that's not the issue. It's that I do like keeping stuff for the option of I've played this game for thousands of hours. If I want to make a build with kinetic tremors and this, or nobody uses harmony, for example, but like, what if it comes around and you're like, well, now I have a harmony. It sounds crazy, but like I earned that stuff. It's a decent roll. Why should I throw it away? And, we brought up this a lot. Like, we need to be able to put stuff in a library to solve that, I
Yes,
think. And
that's the
Division's done it.
solution.
And any number of solutions as well. Like library even aside, again, I always have to describe to people the weapon drops. I'm sitting there next to the chest. And while we're thinking of the next thing, I right click on it or whatever console. And now I can do the thing that I do on web pages normally, but see the other versions of that weapon just as a start and then mark them for deletion or not. We can't do any of that in the game. So
I've got like
I'm
nostalgia
holding
for
out hope.
some guns too that I just don't want to get rid of them because I played, like the way they have stats on them. Like, oh, I got like 1,000 kills with this sniper rifle in the Crucible. I want to hold on to it because it's cool.
Yeah.
Like I did that. That was fun.
Yeah, and it is understated. It is that Bungie just has guns that are good feeling and fun to use,
Yeah.
and some of us latch onto that. And it's like, dude, I'm a strong proponent of this. I'm like, I don't care what you think I should be using. If we beat it, we're fine. And I had fun with this gun. That's my favorite gun. Leave me alone, Like,
Yeah.
wow, you're not optimal. You should use this guy. I'm like, just leave me alone.
If we had
beat the
apartments in
activity.
Destiny and you could like decorate it, I'd have like certain weapons above the mantle in the fireplace, right? That just
Yeah.
I don't use them anymore, but I just want to see them like every once in a while. Like, oh yeah, I remember that gun. That was fucking awesome.
Dude, we need that starship builder in
Oh,
Destiny. And then like now you can build like maybe what you need to be able to build is like a dock for your ship. And within there you have what you're describing is all that memorial,
Yeah, armor sets. I'm playing
Yeah,
Rise of the Ronin
trophies.
right now, and there's that. You have like kind of this like apartment that you go to, and you can like kind of put stuff in there that you kind of remember. There's a lot of games that have that. It's just
Yeah,
a fun little
Cyberpunk.
like
Yeah.
kind of neat thing.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, it's exciting times. Yeah, I mean, we're only, by the time that stream hits next week, we're what, 52, 53 days out from the final shape launching. It's not much time, so
No, it's
gonna
really
get
coming up
exciting.
fast now.
Yeah, I mean, I think every week
Not
we're
gonna
gonna
be
have
long.
something pretty big. I'd be surprised if there was a week off of hype. There might be like one in there, but
That reminds me. Time till final shape. They we didn't talk about this the week like 2 weeks ago whenever we were covering stuff how they were releasing the weapons and they announced that they were releasing them
Right.
like it was like staggered up until the final shape and it was like
oh
wait,
yeah,
you're telling me that I will only have a week to get this special version of the gun. You can still grind for the gun, but this is the only way you'll get the one that, is the special version of it, like getting a
Yeah.
shiny Pokemon. And so the community uproared big time and we walked them back and they announced somewhere in between the last 2 weeks, like, hey, we're actually like having the schedule. Like you'll have
Yeah.
twice as much time.
Yeah. Which I was like, thank goodness. Because it's
Yeah.
like, how often does Bungie just get a W where people are happy? And this was people more happy. They're like, this exceeds the expectations of what I had of Into the Light. And then it was like, and we're making
Time
sure that they're time gating it. So I'm glad that I'm happy with that. It was like a middle ground. It's like, okay, we're still gonna release them, not all at once, but we're cutting it in half. So that was good.
Very nice.
So Into Light, very exciting. Final Shape stream, very exciting.
Yeah, that'll be the
We
big one, right?
also had that will be a big one. We had a big PvP Strike Team update. I don't know what's all in here. I've seen some mumblings on Twitter.
I will just say for the weapon stuff, we already went over all that section. Like we talked about that at different times, so we don't really need to talk about that. The main thing with the PvP stuff is they're testing out a new version of special ammo for 2 weeks, and it is
Yes.
very interesting. So they're
Yes.
going to a crate system in both comp and trials for 2 weeks, instead of running where you earn your special ammo through the meter. And so they're going to test it 2 different ways. The first week, well, they're testing it 2 different ways in trials, it says. I'm not sure for comp. But for trials, the first week they're doing unrestricted special ammo crates where all 4 ammo crates spawn every round. Players who have special ammo drop it on death when they're killed. And they'll use that as a baseline for the upper limit of special ammo in trials. And then the second week, they're doing a restricted version where only 2 crates spawn each round, and players lose special ammo on death. They don't drop special ammo, and that variant will end up with special ammo availability being between where we are now and the previous version of the game, which I just got to say I hate crates. I hate crates so much.
Yeah, I don't love crates in general.
I'm gonna give it a shot, but like, I just because it could feel different than Destiny 1, and we have I think a version to try it out now in the 3's playlist. I just haven't been in there, but yeah, I just like why slow down? Why not just give me the ammo? Why do I have to slow down at a box? To stop the game. And their reasoning in here is so that we can rotate players around the map into different places. But I hate that too. As someone who likes strategically approaching other people, I don't want to be funneled into an area and have the game tell me I have to play it here when there's so many other ways to play the game. And that's what makes Destiny fun to me, is when you can play the game any way you want to. So I'm going to give it a shot, but that's my initial reaction.
Yeah, my initial reaction is, oh no, we're going back to special ammo crates. And when I was playing Trials, because I played it a decent amount, not last week, but the week before, I felt like special ammo was fine. Like I really didn't have any moments where I was like, man, there's not enough special ammo in this game. It felt fine. I felt like I had it at the right time. So this kind of caught me off guard because I really didn't think there was any issue with special ammo.
That seems like the general consensus too online that I've seen so far is like everybody's like it's feeling really good. We're actually feel like we're falling into a groove here. But somebody did point out, at least Bungie is trying different things just
Yeah.
to see like where we hit and what the community's response is, because they don't say anything about this being permanent. It's just a 2-week
No,
thing.
they're just trying.
And like versus not hearing from a PvP team for how long, like, and they're just trying all this stuff. That's great, in one sense.
So
Yeah.
long that
Yeah, I
we
mean-
wondered if there was a PvP team.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got him. Yeah, I mean, they do very clearly point to, just that it is, a small net increase, but they're trying to pull people out, which I get, right? Like, I'm with you. I barely have played any, but I was like, actually, like I've talked about it, I'm like, it feels pretty good just getting ammo this way. But they might be like, yeah, but people are still kind of hanging back now. And like, how do we get a little more movement? And in other words, without it being some like well of like, it's limitless special, right? And it's not. So, and then honestly, the heavy ammo crate used to be like that, or is when it shows up or whatever, right? But so I guess we'll see. I'll have to hear from you guys. You're the experts on that one, but I don't mind a little bit of it. In other words,
Yeah.
as long as the meter is still, I think, the main way you getting it. It isn't replacing
No,
the meter, right?
there's no meter for these 2 weeks.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like an additional.
I don't think so. Yeah, because they want you to like move around
Yeah,
to get this ammo.
swapping the ammo meter system for the ammo crate system
Mhm.
for a class. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And then they made one more change too, not swap improvements. Right now they have it to where in trials, if you swap an exotic armor piece, it will drain all your abilities. So you're not like, cheesing something basically. But now what's happening this whole time is people are going in with a special and a primary ammo weapon, and then they'll use their 2 special shots to get an advantage and then switch to all primary. And there's no detriment to doing that. So instead, they're making it to where whenever you switch to a weapon, like say you're on special and you switch to a primary, then you end up with no ammo in that. Oh, you drain all your abilities. That's what it is. You drain all your abilities. And so whether you go from primary to special or special to primary, it'll drain all your abilities as if you swapped an exotic armor piece, which I'm kind of cool with. But a side effect of this is you can swap from like a sniper rifle to a shotgun and keep all your ammo. And so that'll be interesting to see. Like I heard some of my friends were like, I don't want to get fusion and then shotgun and then sniped all in one trials game, But I think it sounds kind of interesting to like strategize. It's not like you're teasing anything. You're literally just, this tool isn't working, I'm going to try a different tool. And that seems fine to me, personally.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
We will see.
That's pretty much it though.
Yeah,
Well-
there's obviously like a lot of little details. But there's so much news that I think we're okay with not hitting every single little detail. The biggest stuff is definitely like the Into Light. You've got the Final Shape live stream and then messing around with special ammo. I think those are the biggest ones.
If you're like me and have been putting off upgrading strand aspects and fragments on your other classes, they're making it cheaper for you to do like half as much. So I can finally go do that on my other character.
Before we move off of Bungie entirely, there was some marathon news. I guess.
Oh, was there?
Yeah, it seems like they may be changing direction a little bit. I think they've got a new.
Oh, did you guys not talk about that?
Oh,
yeah, because we didn't do a show last week. They got a new game director, and they announced that they were going to do custom characters, but now they're doing like a kind of hero character kind of deal.
And this wasn't ever confirmed by Bungie, right?
Right,
This was
that's
like
correct.
a rumor.
Yeah.
Well, no, they finally had to confirm it. So basically, if I got what you're talking about right, is it started to come out. Then actually, IGN followed up with a report that it is. The guy tweeted, the new game director said, "Yep, I'm the new game director. I've been working on it it was like 9 months. And he came from Valorant. This is Valorant.
Yeah, I know that he tweeted that he's from Valorant, but was there any clarification of we are switching to hero-based classes?
I think that was
didn't
just
see that.
in IGN's report. I see. I think that part you're right is.
I think there's a lot of just like, well, he's from Valorant, so obviously it's true. But yeah, I just want to make it sure that everyone knows that it is still a rumor. They haven't clarified anything, but yeah, it was about 9 months that this guy came from Valorant and is now the game director for
9 months he came,
Marathon.
and then recently he became the game director.
I think 9 months ago he took over as game director.
Okay.
Yeah, his tweet was.
He just didn't publicize it.
He tweeted on March 19th, "Hey everyone, for the last 9 months, I've been working on Marathon as the game director. Christopher Barrett was the previous game director. I don't think he's talked about if he's still working on stuff at Bungie or moving on elsewhere, etc.
Currently, his Twitter just says that he's creative director on Marathon. So
yeah, Chris is awesome. I mean, he's been there for a long time, so we'll see. They've always got a lot of stuff going on.
He has been there for a long time.
But yeah, so we know that as of March 19th, it had already been 9 months. People were kind of pointing out that was, I think, right before the reveal.
It was right after there. I think like a week or two after, which is so weird because it was he was the main person,
Right. But it sounds like they had baked the announcement, but then they had baked some plans to change some things. But yeah, it was the IGN report that I'm reading here was just the rumor. Watt sounded like me, like check our sources.
What's your sources, friend? IGN.
But yeah, one source says they're moving away from custom player characters in favor of selectable cast characters. And I don't know if that's been confirmed.
What do you all feel about that?
They haven't. Yeah, maybe even more clear. They haven't talked about Marathon at all. He just said, I've been the game director, and that's all we know.
Sounds like maybe he was trying to get ahead of a report of like the character class thing. So he was just like, yeah, I'm here. It's me. 9 months ago. Go get by. Because that can happen a lot. You get whispers that some kind of report's coming out and you're like, okay, I'll put out a tweet or something. I definitely always prefer making my own character in every game. It's just that the difference, and I kind of can use Neo 1 and Neo 2 as a really good example of this, because Neo 2, you could make your own character, and in the first one, you couldn't. And I just feel so much more connected to a character that I'm kitting out or upgrading if it's a character that I have made. So I'm definitely not like super stoked about it. I think I'd be more okay with it if I can get stuff in the game to put on my character and make them look different, but I doubt that's going to be the case because outfits is probably going to be microtransactions if it's free to play.
Yeah.
Which does make sense.
Probably will be. But you can I'm sure you can pick up guns, right? Because it's an extraction shooter, so you're going to be able to go out there and get guns and stuff.
And that's all they've talked about too in the streams before, whenever they were showcasing it, is the excitement, or maybe it was the blog post that they did after the streams. They kind of like told what it was like a little bit more, and they were like, the excitement is running in, and like I know that there's a piece a little bit further that I could grab, and if I go a little bit further and grab that and extract with it, then I'll have that piece that I needed to build this weapon or something like that. And it sounded very like it wasn't a piece to like. It was a piece to upgrade weaponry is what it sounded like. And I was like, man, that does sound really fun. And if they take that, it would be weird for them to take that away after that being such a core part of the game.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm still trying to figure out if it's, it's obviously inspired by like Tarkov, but Tarkov is insane. There's no way Bungie want to do exactly that. But then now you've got, a Valorant game director coming in, and clearly there seems to be rumors about, well, look, we need to like, maybe are we gonna have character powers? And like, we know Bungie loves that type of stuff. Like, I don't know, but I'm still super excited about that game. I like extraction stuff. Funny that Helldivers has become one of the biggest live service games in the world and is about extracting, but not really with weapons. It's just like it's like an extraction light kind of experience. It's more for the success and grabbing some materials and stuff. But yeah, I'm still super excited for Marathon. I thought it looked really cool. So I hope they take their time with it.
Yeah, there was some reporting as well that they are trying to get it pushed out the door, though.
Yeah, it was like it sounds like they were like hoping it was 2024, but now there's like these changes, and now they really need to get it out in 2025. And then we're combining that with all the reports that Bungie, with all the shakeups and layoffs and changes, that it's like they really need another hit. And like some of that is or a lot of that is just through these rumors and reports versus like, hey, we're responding to pre-orders for the final shape and our plans and like write their financials. And this has been unfortunate across the industry. This isn't like a Bungie thing only. So in other words, games slip all the time. Bungie has always taken time with their games. I hope,
I'm sure it's
despite them being,
probably a case of like,
yeah,
oh, we need to finish the game.
but it's always that, right? And
Yeah.
if they're gonna take, it's probably right. They've been probably pushing this thing around in concept, I'm sure, for a decade. Not maybe in detail, but I'm sure they've been kicking
Right.
around. So
Yeah.
it'd be a surprise if they didn't make sure they had the time. And PlayStation's spending billions, but anyway, remains to be seen. This year, I think, is all about the final shape, obviously. So
Do we have an extraction hero shooter? Is that a thing?
No, I don't think so.
I was just thinking
I'm sure there's
about like
something.
because it's clearly gonna stay an extraction shooter game. Like
Yeah.
that's like the core of it. And for them to emphasize like a more hero type structure, you know, that can mean anything. That can mean like heavy classes like we have now, like Titans, Warlocks, Hunter. You know, like who knows, I guess, what that means.
Yeah, I mean, you're making a very good point, which is like we're using what we've seen in our info and paired with a rumor that it's
Right.
supposed to be selectable heroes, and we immediately think of Valorant and Overwatch, but that
Yeah.
doesn't like
Yeah.
you get Helldiver's a good example. Like there's no character creator, you're just like, you know, armored dudes in Nerf suits, and like that obviously they're very different team size and approach there, but it becomes more about the armor, like you were getting at. It's like I just want the armor to look cool, and like
Yeah.
so who knows?
And I think
I wonder when we'll hear more.
based on their art, like their art was really good. So if you have heroes that I think look really cool and are really cool, then I can feel as excited about them as making my own character. Because then it's like, oh, I'm a X main, you know, like I main this character and that's my thing. It starts becoming a part of
Yeah.
like your playstyle and your personality. So it can be good. So I'm not like super concerned about it just because we have seen their art and their art is very good.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that they could make some really cool looking heroes if they go that way. So yeah, I hope we hear more soon because they announced it and then they were like, okay, bye.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah,
love
I
to know
mean,
more.
summer events, we got Summer Game Fest, and that's just, I think, just after around when Final Shape comes out, but then there's
Yeah.
always as you head towards Gamescom in August. So like I'd say if we're gonna hear anything, maybe be then or like wait till the Game Awards, you know, if it's really coming out
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
year.
Watts, did you
Yes.
play some Stellar Blade demo over the weekend?
I sure did. Stellar Blade finally got the official demo. The
That's right.
demo was put out early a couple weeks ago. I guess it was like 3 weeks ago now. Where if you downloaded it right then, I think they took it down within like an hour. And then eventually they ended up stripping it off people's consoles. But if you got it right when it was out and you downloaded it and you were in there, you were good. But finally it was released to everyone and we got to play it. So
Yeah.
it's a PS5 exclusive, so you can only play it on PS5. And they give you basically the beginning hour or so of the story, introducing you to obviously the tutorial for the combat and everything. And then you get to fight the first boss at the end of this level. And then after that, you do get a boss challenge mode. So you can kind of mess around with a fully upgraded character. You've got
Oh, I
everything
didn't even see that.
unlocked. Yeah, you can. It's really cool actually because in the story, obviously you're just playing the beginning of the game, so you don't have much unlocked at all. And then you have the boss challenge mode where you have everything unlocked in this, at least in the skill tree that they've shown us. There's still quite a bit they haven't shown us, and you can also upgrade the character. So like you can select different spines and they have like a defensive spine or like a critical strike kind of spine or one that focuses on making your dodge and parry have better windows, and you've got a bunch of stuff that you can mess around with to kind of see the customization a little bit. But yeah, I spent a good amount of time with it. I think I probably have played maybe 5 hours
Wow.
or something.
That's quite a
like
bit.
that. Yeah, I wanted to mess around with the different loadouts and see what they do, and I wanted to do a full playthrough of the demo again just to see if there's like something I missed or some more information that I could take in. Yeah, and then I did spend a lot of time in boss challenge. A lot of time.
I played it too. I found it to be kind of like an interesting combination of genres, kind of. You know, like
Yeah.
you kind of had combat reminiscent of like a FromSoft game, but kind of mixed with like a character action game, almost like Devil May
Yeah.
Cry or something. And
I think, yeah.
go ahead.
I think when they interviewed the CEO, he was saying that this game is like Sekiro mixed with Bayonetta. And I was like, when I played it, I was like, yeah, that's those were his inspirations for the combat. And I was like, yeah, I can see that, because you do have like you don't have to parry the whole time. Like if you don't want to parry, you don't have to, but they definitely highly incentivize you to parry, and there's a lot of things to parry, but it's very much so like an action game. It's not like a Souls like, but you could definitely see the Sekiro inspiration for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's good looking. It did have a bit of like that kind of early 2000s, like everything's brown and gray, and like I don't know if that's just the first level or if that'll change as you move in, but I was a little disappointed by that because so much has been made about the character design, right? It's like it's so jiggly.
It's really funny because the whole discourse is like, it's a non-real body, and I'm like, actually, this is probably one of the more realistic female bodies I've seen in a video game, because a lot of games don't do like the little details of a woman's body, like hip dips and like other ways that the body has lines and marks, and you don't see that very often, but she has all of that. It's just hip dip is like where the hips dip.
Is that what gives you like the glute dimples, right?
It's the ones where, so instead of the hips being like there's a little bit of a dip in it, instead of it being like this, it's more like this.
Yeah.
But she has those. Yeah, she has those. And I was like, hey, that's cool. You never get to see that. She's just a very fit woman.
And I mean, is it also fair to say too, like when you're wearing a suit like that is skin tight, and it's also, it does shape the body. Like people do this all the time, whether they're out or at the gym, or like that's not exactly what the body looks like when all of that stuff's off. I mean, do you feel like it's somewhat fair on that front too? Meaning, of course, like it's going to be firmly curvaceous, so to speak, like because like you're wearing a skin tight suit. That helps a bit with that, right?
They literally scanned a real model and used her as the character. So I mean,
I mean,
she's an attractive character.
Yeah, like end of the day, Watts, like you don't have to comment on. Do you feel like the character is like, across all that we see in gaming, that it is like sexualized, like, or it's literally just like, when we look at music and movies and like things are made to look dramatic and pretty, and it's not realistic for everybody to look like that every day. But in other words, do you feel it's like overt in any way?
I don't think so. It's kind of like, it's no worse than some anime episode you watch that has a lot of fan service, right? Like that's actually a lot worse. And I think Yoko Taro put it the best, who is the creator of, Nier Automata and 2B, when people were asking him, well, why'd you make her like that? He's like, well, when I play video games, I like looking at an attractive character, so I made her attractive. And like, that's kind of what this CEO is saying as well. He's like, I don't know, I'm looking at a character the whole time, I made her attractive. And that's really as deep as it goes. She's just, and I always say that I think that there is a place for all types of characters with all types of stories and all types of backgrounds. And in my character action game, I'm totally fine with being a attractive woman who has like 24 outfits.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
I think that's exactly it, right? Like it's about the breadth of how it's being handled across the board, and like what types of games and stories, and like in other words, not everything needs to be super realistic, that not everybody is a supermodel, etc. But it's okay sometimes, right? And like that's generally how I feel. Like, like me watching He-Man or whatever as a kid, like it has an effect, but I also knew that it was like hyper realistic, and I thought that was cool.
I was saying, the characters in No Rest for the Wicked are less realistic with their giant arms. They're very unrealistic.
I mean, that's interesting. Also, that's what creating characters helps with, right? It's like, then just create who you want, but that is you can't do that in every game. It doesn't make sense. So anyway, I haven't played Stellar Blade, but yeah, it's been
The game
quite
is cool,
the
man.
discourse.
It does seem cool.
Like,
There was enough in the demo to get me interested. Like, I was interested in kind of like, okay, what are they setting up in this world? Who are these, these women soldiers who don't seem to know exactly kind of what's going on themselves, right?
Yeah, because when Eve gets to Earth, it's raining and she's like, oh, this must be Earth's rain. She hasn't had experience with that. And in one of the interviews before, they mentioned that she's going to start out as like very robotic. And as she travels through this story, she's going to know more about herself and the world and kind of become more human and more in touch with emotions. So that was interesting. And combat, the more I played, the more that I was like, this combat is very cool. Like there's combos and all of the combos can do different things. Like some combos will stun, some will end with an aerial move, which will actually dodge low hitting attacks. You've got different abilities that do different things. So I found some abilities would actually like knock the enemy away and then you could go back in on them while they're on the floor. So it was really cool to mix and match all of the different things that they give you in the boss challenge and see what you can do. And even just like throwing grenades, it's like an interrupt and she's got a gun and the combat, like there's a good amount of depth and skill expression in the combat. So they definitely got me with that.
The one critique I heard online was that it was kind of slow. Did you feel that way at all playing it?
I did.
I could see it in the beginning. I think maybe people weren't using rush enough if they felt it was slow the whole time. Rush, for context, is you hold down triangle and you'll just like automatically jump to the enemy. So I think if you're like walking towards everything and waiting to parry, that maybe you could feel that feels slow, but you can parry out of pretty much any move. There's some moves, like if you're doing a full combo and you're flipping in the air, you won't be able to parry cancel out of that. But pretty much everything else you can parry cancel out of. So you can play it really fast. And because initially I was starting like, let's just look at the moves and parry them and see what's up. But then after that, I was like, oh, you can kind of just play this also like an action game.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Faster.
Yeah, I was wondering because they like showed a clip and it was mainly what you're saying. They were just slowing down and parrying and taking things slow. And it like from the clip, it made it look like that's how slow you had to play. So it's cool to hear that you can like up the rhythm yourself to a speed you're comfortable with once you get it down.
Yeah, I didn't realize that, so I might go back and try that. What you're saying?
Try the boss challenge because you're actually faster in the boss challenge too. Like your character moves faster. There's got to be some upgrade there, but yeah, I noticed it right away. I was like, oh, this feels a lot faster than.
For me though, the demo did what a demo needs to do, and that is sell me on the game. And I'm definitely gonna be picking this one up when it comes out. Like I probably wouldn't have bought this without having played the demo for free. But the gameplay was fun. The world was interesting enough that like I'd like to see more of this.
Nice.
I'm
it comes
out
April 26th.
Yeah, it's coming up pretty soon.
It's real quick. I got some big games on my plate right now.
It's PS5 only, right?
It is PS5 only, and this game was going to be significantly smaller until someone at Sony played it and they were like, all right, let's make it bigger. Let's make this a bigger game for you. And I hope, so these are the same devs behind Nikke, and Nikke's story is, people will always laugh at anyone who says this, but anyone who's played it knows I'm not lying. The story is really good, and it really tugs at your heartstrings, and they have a very similar thing going on there, where it seems like in Stellar Blade, they are women, but they're like altered women, whereas in Nikke, they're robots that are created to be weapons for this war, and humans use them as weapons, and they're very disposable. They don't really care about them.
That's what feels like going on, right?
Yeah, I was like, it seems like a very similar kind of experience, and their writing in that game is so good that I'm really hoping to see some of that very good writing in Stellar Blade. Yeah, because they've shown that they can write very well.
In the demo, there's this character, Adam, who very much feels like, oh, my life is worth more, so I can't be out there with you. I'm going to send this little robot avatar.
Yeah. Yeah, I was playing it and I was like, this feels very similar to what they were doing with Nikke, where the women are weapons to be used in whatever way humans need them to be used, and we don't really care about them that much.
I've been playing
That'd be pretty cool.
another PlayStation exclusive. I've been playing Rise of Ronin, which is
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
excited about
criminally,
this.
I'm gonna say, getting overlooked because of Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah, totally.
But I have been just like knee deep in Samurai all for the last 2 weeks. Right, I've been watching Shogun on
Yes.
on Hulu, which is, I don't know,
Me
the best
too.
show ever made. Possibly, it's you can
It's
say
very dope.
it is an unbelievable TV show. I think, I don't know, is the last episode coming up?
I don't know.
This
I'm still
week?
catching up on, but it's a dope show.
It is an
I'm excited
amazing
to
show.
start
It's
it.
so beautiful. And I was watching that show. I'm like, oh man, I want to play some fucking samurai bullshit. So I picked up Rise of the Ronin, and I am so glad I did, because this game is really good. You know, it's getting
Good, I'm glad.
I feel like the conversation about it online is like, you know, but like, I can see that if you don't like Assassin's Creed games, you're probably not gonna like this game that much. If you didn't like something like Ghost of Tsushima, you're probably not gonna like this too much. But this really feels like a Assassin's Creed game set in Japan, but with really fucking cool combat, a ton of character customization. I mean, you can just go so in depth with the character customization.
Koei Tecmo has probably one of the best character creators I have ever seen.
Not even past the
games
character creator. Like, you could just go crazy on the character creator, and you have to create two at the beginning of the game, a male and female, which is, that's a lot. That's a lot right at the beginning.
You can make them both male or both female.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, you can.
And then for the rest of the game, they refer to as they, because they don't know which one you're playing, so it actually makes sense. And then once you get into the game, it's got kind of like a Destiny style item system where loot is just raining down on you constantly, but it's very much like there's a number, and if the number's not higher, 86 it, you can either sell it for money or you can get rid of it for materials.
Yeah, I was going to ask on the loot front, because I didn't realize that. I have played a very small amount of the first Neo. I know, Watts, don't even say. It's been bothering me for years, and I've been ashamed.
It's been many years.
Ashamed, because I love it. But anyway, is it anything like Diablo loot, you know, where it's like rarities and like Destiny, or is it literally just the power of like drops? Or
it's
like,
just,
you know,
it's the power, and then
you know what I mean?
It's ranked by like green, blue, purple,
and
gold.
They've got perks on them.
Does it have,
yeah,
like,
and they got
perks and gear sets.
They got gear
like
sets, gear
Okay,
bonuses, and transmog.
The usual.
Right? That's all in there.
Neo loot. I love Neo loot. I know a lot of people get overwhelmed by it because it is kind of that ARPG loot style where you're getting loot constantly.
I'd say the only downside for me is that when I do have to like either dismantle it or sell it, it takes a bit of time to like select each piece.
Yeah.
Like, can I just like all trash, please? Everything I'm not equipping, can I just like throw away right now?
You have something where it's like 4-star and below, just select it and
I haven't seen that. Maybe I'm just missing it.
I have to
But the combat is really fun. It's really parry based, right? There is a block button, but because you have stamina, it's like you cannot rely on this block button, because there's enemies that will cut through all of your stamina if you just block every attack, and then they'll use a special attack on you after that will take half of your life, right? So you have to learn how to parry in this game. However, there are multiple difficulty modes, so I did try out the easy mode on this, and not only is there easy mode, but then like the easy mode also has like a couple like modifiers for like make the parry window a little bigger, you know, like make it a little easier, even more. So I did try out that just to see how much easier it was, and it was way easier. So like, if you just want to get through the story on this, it's gonna be like totally fine. You don't have to be like banging your head against a boss for 6 hours if you don't want to. You can just put it on easy mode and like go through the story, or you could just like if you get frustrated by a boss, you can just turn it on to easy mode for that boss, and then go back to the regular mode or the hard mode, which is really nice. I think that's really like a nice feature, because it is an open world game. This is going to take a while. And then the story and the characters is really nice too, because you're in Japan. The game looks a lot like Shogun, like the color palette. Like it's just a coincidence, I think. It's the color.
It's the same time period ish.
Yeah, it's like 250 years away, but it's
Ish.
ish. But it's very much like kind of this darker, muted version of Japan, and there's multiple graphic settings. You could play like in ray tracing or at 60 FPS with no ray tracing, like a kind of graphics mode or a kind of frame rate mode. But man, it's been hard for me to get off of this ray tracing mode because the game just looks so good. Like it just really has a look to it.
Hear.
Yeah,
because everyone was really dogging on the way it looks, and I get it.
I think it looks awesome.
I saw the trailers, and I was like, yeah, it's Team Ninja. They don't make beautiful games. It's not really their thing, but that's good to hear that you're finding it beautiful.
There's so many parts where you're like walking through a town, and there's like mist coming through the town, and Mount Fuji's in the background, and like it just. I think it looks great. Like I really do. I think it looks nice.
Good.
Yeah, it's good to hear. I think people's expectations are way too high, and like their games tend to look a little shimmery, as I recall, like their anti-aliasing and stuff. But like, I don't care if it looks reasonably good and runs well, and the art is good, And so anyway, I think more frankly, I think people were looking at Ghost of Tsushima and expecting it to look like that.
Well, Ghost of Tsushima is a different looking game, right? It's a stylized look, right? It doesn't really look like real life so much. It's like
right, but yeah, I think that's it though. It's
like a Mario Brothers version of Japan.
Yeah, I just was surprised at the amount of commentary, and I was like, kind of like you're saying.
Yeah,
I think it looks great overall, but
I think it looks great.
I haven't played it, but
I think it plays great. If you like that Assassin's Creed version of like kind of adventure tourism of like exploring this land through like killing everybody. Also, it's a really interesting point of Japan history, where you've got like, you've got the shogunate still in Japan, like controlling things, but you also have them talking to the Americans and the British,
the white man,
and them coming in who very much want to trade. And then there's different factions that you're dealing with. Some people want to get all the the foreigners out. Some people really want to expand the economy of Japan by inviting these foreigners in, and you're constantly like, you don't really care about this. You have more of a mission that's aside from this, but you have to navigate your way through all of this in a way that you still can accomplish your goals, which I think has been a really fun way. My biggest problem with Ghost of Tsushima was the side quests were basically, like nothing, right? There was nothing really there. It's very deep. It's very fun. It's fun. All the characters are really interesting. You get
that's so good.
You get the experience from like an American officer who's there. You get a anti-shogunate. You get all sorts of different people that you're talking to, and all of them have good points. It's good. I'm really enjoying it. I'm only 13 hours deep, but I'm really having fun.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to jump into it because I was gonna play Dragon's Dogma and Rise of Ronin at the same time, and I'm like, I don't think I can do
coming
that.
out of Final Fantasy, which
After coming out of Rebirth, geez.
Did you finish all you wanted there?
I finished Rebirth. Yeah,
oh,
I was happy with what I finished. So yeah, I think I want to play it in a time where there's not much going on, so I can actually experience the game.
Yeah, that's
I will
the world
definitely play it.
I'd be all over Rise of the Ronin. When they first announced it, I was super stoked for it. And yet again, I'm in the same boat that I'm usually in. I was just like, God, my list is growing of these bangers that I'm missing out on.
They're huge games coming out
this year.
Just huge games.
Now, I'm not playing old games though, and I'm missing them. I'm playing Horizon Forbidden West right now, which is on PC, which is a brand new game. No, just came out on PC.
Oh, okay.
You have a PlayStation 5, don't you?
Regardless, doesn't make it an old game. You got to play it right. But yeah, no, that and of course I try to keep up with the live service stuff. Helldivers has taken up a lot of time because everybody's into it.
They do have a lot of updates.
And Suicide Squad had a season 1 update, which I don't know if
no one likes or cares.
No one cares about. How are you enjoying Horizon 2? Because I bounced off of that game really much faster than I expected to, because I like the first one so much.
Well, it's too early, even though I've played 10 to 15 hours, but that is one of my favorite feeling franchises. Horizon the combat and like all the tools and the world and how good it looks. Like I have a feeling a lot of people who bounced out were like, this feels a lot like the first one. I'm fighting similar enemies and they have some different elements, and like I don't know how that evolves if you go through the main story. It sounds like maybe you don't either. But those fights, I have it cranked up to very hard because I like each fight. Somebody in my chat had actually said this is like each fight feels like a mini boss, you know, and it definitely can. Like I'm like tying them down with a rope. They're like leaping at me, you know, and I'm like tying them down, shocking them, blowing parts off of them. And I'm only fighting small enemies right now. I get so much enjoyment out of that. The level of craft there is incredible. So yeah, I'm never not going to be impressed.
Have you gotten to like the open
Horizon
world? Because it takes a long time to get there.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at right now. And so you sort of drop you off in the main town, and you're right, like it's a kind of a big, you know, tutorial build up, but frankly they open it up super fast, and then I think that's part of it is they don't really, because it's an open world game. I mean, you can just do whatever, and it kind of overwhelming. You're like, well, I gotta grab all this stuff, but the main story, I'm hoping those beats and the bosses are really nicely done. I definitely feel like I'm playing the original, but I love the original. Like, in other words, if you took Ghost of Tsushima or Sekiro, right, and like you had rushed out, let's say rushed, you know, in 2 to 3 years, like a sequel, and you're like, man, it feels a lot like the first one, but it was a lot like a new world, you know, even if some similar enemies, I'd be like, this is still a very good game, you know, and so that's how I feel about it. So it remains to be seen if it has surprise to it. And then there's, of course, it's Burning Shores, which is the DLC. That's the benefit of waiting too, is it all becomes one full package. Nice. But man, it looks great on PC. That's Nix's, who does most of those high-end Sony PlayStation ports. They did Spider-Man.
I would imagine that controlling that game with a mouse and keyboard is way better than with a stick.
Yeah, and maybe that it's awesome to be making precision shots with a bow and arrow, which I like to play. And again, I crank it up to almost the ultra difficulty. I also do some things where I'll turn off some notifiers and like I just like the world and
the devs said that they toned down Alloy's kind of like speech a little bit, because one of the main complaints that I had and a lot of people had was at the release of the game was that she's talking so much that she'll spoil the puzzles before you even like you walk into a room. And she'll be like, oh, I need to like pull that thing down up there. I'm like, what? I didn't even see it yet.
Yeah. But anyway, the franchise is super impressive. I just think it's a good example of like, in the same way, right, that you're enjoying Rise of the Ronin and you're like, why are people like not impressed by that? Like, people's expectations are so high. We are so spoiled.
Yeah.
Like, shut up, all of you, you know, us included. Like, it's never good enough because everything's gotta be Cyberpunk 2.0, Phantom Liberty, all as one package, perfect, and it's got to be Elden Ring, and it's got to be Baldur's Gate, and I get that, because once you reach those heights, you want everything to be Dune in theaters or whatever your favorite is, and I get the bar, but it's like people can't appreciate like everything in that, you know, for me, it's always that 6.5 to 9 range. I'm like, there's just some favorites in there. It doesn't mean that they were perfect, but
yeah, that's fair.
But again, the game feels so good, and the level of craft from that team. So yeah, I would have loved to wait 6 years, and it turns out they did as much as Tears of the Kingdom did with Zelda to Horizon, right? I think that is a good parallel. You'd be like, man, yeah, that's what I was hoping for. It's like change up, but like it's still really great. So
yeah,
we shall see.
The story was so compelling in the first one, and like, you know, you can't retell that. You know, like they had to like tell a different story.
That I can't comment on yet. I'm just way too early. So yeah. And you know, honestly, rest in peace, Lance Reddick. Like coming back to it and kind of forgetting that like he's memorialized in the game as a major character, and hearing his voice, you really you miss it. You're like, wow, yes, his voice is so cool, and he's such an important character in this series. So honestly, it's cool just to play for that reason. So. But anyway, big thumbs up so far. It would be really interesting if I came back to the show and was like, you know what? You were right. I got bored. Like, I would be surprised because, man, I just enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm curious. That's good.
But I know we probably won't get into it, but I just want to put the nail in the coffin on Suicide Squad season 1. Just to say, like, as always, like I was just saying, I can see the beauty in many things, right? And like Rocksteady's hand and craft, seriously, the campaign, not the gameplay. the world building, the evolving
Yeah.
world, the dialogue between characters. I
The
was
dialogue
laughing.
was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I talked
enjoyed
about
my
it.
time with that.
The boss fights kind of went awry towards the end, but like I was like, hey, this was worth checking out. But I was kind of pulling myself past this public events, fighting on rooftops with guns with these DC characters. I was like optimistic. But anyway, I thought I'd take that break and come back to season 1. And yeah, was surprised, but not surprised. I'm like, it's so insanely like visually noisy. It just really smacked me in the face. Is like, I don't really think they just, it felt to me like they got to a point in the gameplay design and they're like, they got to have some guns and this is going to be it. We got to do as best we can. And now you're stuck with it, right? And like, that is not a good core of a game, the gameplay, right? And like, it is so visually insane and noisy that I just personally don't understand how we ended up here. And I couldn't come back to it. Like, so to unlock the Joker, it'll probably take you 3 to 5 hours. It's totally free. So they have a season 1 progression path that you just get to a certain level, unlock the mission, you can unlock him. But that'll probably take you 3 to 5 hours, which I haven't done. And I'm like, I just wanted to play the Joker. At least maybe learning a new character, but I don't even know if I'm going to do that. And this is season 1, which has a midpoint to it, by the way. So we'll see. But it's not, honestly, it looks like a complete lost cause as it did when it came out.
Paul Tassi, I believe, said that this is the worst live service season he's ever seen. And I think his reasoning for it was that, so he has gone through getting the Joker and playing the Joker and making a build as Joker and all of that. And he was like, there's no new story. There's like one tiny cutscene when you get the Joker. But there's nothing. There's no new story. There's nothing to do. The next fight that you have in the season is another just repurposed boss that you fought before. And yeah,
I mean, you're right. It's one of those, it's free to play, but if you bought the deluxe edition, have a token, it's like Diablo where you get a cosmetic group of items, and like but yeah, like from a content side, remember though that it is a free season, even though it has these paid elements. But yeah, you literally, it just like you show up and there's like pieces of Metropolis that are slightly Jokerized and like, this is feeling kind of Jokery, and like you're right, that's about it. And then you go back to doing everything you've been doing. And there's like slight mutations of that, but like literally you can tell, like, I think they're like, yeah, we just got to stretch out and hopefully make some money back here, but it does not feel like a AAA effort in any means. But it also, to me, shows the exhaustion of like, they had all of the learnings, everything from Anthem to Division before it to Destiny, and they stuck with it still somehow. And it speaks to Warner Brothers management and or whatever was going on at Rocksteady working with them. And how did you ignore all the signs? But would love to get past that, and I hope there's not more games that continue to seem like they're forcing these really talented developers to like, that's what it feels like. They were held at gunpoint. Make these DC characters hold guns.
That's what it feels like with a lot of, I think a lot of suits were like, there's a ton of money in live service. Let's push our single player story team to become a live service team. And it's just like, it's a whole different experience. And you can't just have people who are used to making single player story games become really good live service studios. It's like a whole different thing. It's a different beast.
Yeah, you can tell it got messy. But it's surprising. There's this really amazing craft from Rocksteady that I enjoyed in the game. But the gameplay, which they are quite good at if you go back when it's single player, in the Arkham series and that, it's surprising to see that they ended up kind of stuck with what they have. And that's going to live with them until the next thing. So, not for me.
You guys play any Dragon's Dogma 2?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What the heck is this game? It's so crazy. It's the craziest video game I've ever played.
62 hours. 62. I've done three story missions.
Yep. 3 story missions.
Yep.
You said 62 hours.
62 hours. 3 story missions.
Did that count your character creator for like 5 or 6 hours?
No, because my character creator was in the character creator, which is a different
right, the downloadable.
So almost 70 hours. No.
This game has a bunch of systems in it that create entertainment.
Yes.
They just they have created like programs that just emit fun. Like from the way Watts, you described it 2 weeks ago as going on an adventure with your idiot friends.
Yeah, it feels like you're three stooges traveling across the world doing your best.
It really feels like that. It's just like a group of morons getting into shit.
It is. It really is. It's constant. Just like I see my pawn, who's called Belia. She picks up a barrel and she throws it at an enemy, hitting our other pawn, and they're just like on fire. And then they do a high five, and I'm like,
the high five. The first time I saw the high five, I was like, did I really just see that? But if you walk past after a battle, if you walk past one of your like teammates, you high five each other. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
And you just see, I'll see her like, because she has the fighter like ultimate skill. I'll see her going, I can't wait to see what's inside, and she'll go and do her ultimate skill on a box. And I'm like, there she goes again. She's off hitting boxes, trying to get potatoes out of them.
I mean, they clearly had fun. You know, we mentioned before how they recorded real video of food for cooking it, which I think is awesome. They're like, you know what?
That's great.
Let's just do that because it looks good. You know, it's like it's not even gameplay anymore.
Yeah. The world they have created, that like, I'm not super interested. I can totally see why you haven't done a lot of story missions, because I couldn't care less about the story in this. It's like,
who cares?
Like, yeah, who cares? What's fun about this game is like, so you have created your own character, and you also create your own pawn.
Yeah.
But then you also recruit pawns kind of while you're out and adventuring, right? And like, there's different ways you could do that, but the gist of it is like, you just kind of like randomly have these new people coming in and out of your party all the time, and they all have. Saying they have personality isn't quite right, because they don't have personality per se, but they have like, I guess they do in a way, because they have like different stats that kind of give them sort of a personality. Like, some of them can be gruff, some of them can be really friendly, some of them can be really helpful, and then they also have their own skills, and they also have a set of knowledge, right? So they may know like what quest you are on, or that you're currently doing, or while you're doing something, they may have been to this area and know this chest is like up there, and all of a sudden just one of them be like, oh, I remember there's a chest up there, and they just start pointing up.
I always turn around and I'm like, where? And they're just pointing.
Yeah.
Over there.
But you gotta be careful, because they are idiots. And like, one of them was like, oh, I know right where to go, follow me. And I basically followed this dude for like 3 hours as we went all the way around this enormous continent. But I was having fun the entire time. And like, at some point you just become like, how long is this gonna last? I don't even know.
Yeah, they've really captured, like we said, just idiots being on an adventure trying to do stuff together.
Yeah,
it perfectly captures that, and they've done such a good job of you just getting into stuff while you're traveling. You can have an idea of what you want to do, and then next thing you know, some guys ask you to do a thing, and then you're going the other way, and then another guy asks you to do another thing, and then you're going this way,
like
and then
interrupt
you find a dragon, and
right?
you find
They
a
just like
griffin.
hijack you, right? So they're like, no, you're doing this now. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
they're all always good RPG signs, you know?
Yeah.
It's just a really fun world to explore, and the combat has been really fun, and I love all of the interactions that you have with the world and the people in it and the pawns that you get. It's been a very good time.
I'm wondering, so you're much deeper into this game than I am, Watts. Like, what is the combat like at 60 hours? Because I'm still early in this game. It feels like just complete chaos. I don't know. Does it feel more skillful as you go on, or does it feel more just like I feel like I just get in there and start whacking away?
What class are you playing?
I've tried a bunch of classes. I've tried the thief. Well, I've tried the double daggers, the fighter with the shield. I've tried the archer, and I've tried one of the, not the mage, but the mage that kills things. Yeah. And they're all kind of fun in their own way. I didn't like the fighter. The fighter felt really boring to me, because you just kind of stand there and like hit things dumbly.
Bonk.
Yeah, it didn't feel like I was doing much. I couldn't even see the guy half the
Think of
time.
caveman.
Really honing in on the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
It is. It's true. That's what it is. I think I've always well, I wouldn't say always. I would say when I started working with my pawn and using, so I'm playing archer mostly, although now I'm a warfarer. Warfare is you get to use multiple different weapons and different skills from different
I
classes.
like that. That's cool.
But since I was working with the pawns and like they can empower my weapon with ice, for example, and then I can bring along an arrow that makes the enemy soaked, so they get frozen faster. So when I've started working with the pawns and like choosing abilities based on what my pawns are using and kind of having a strategy, then yeah, I think it feels skillful.
Yeah.
I think so. Combat is really, really fun. I've always loved the combat. I've loved it. Every time I see a big boss, I'm like, yep, go get it, chase it, go fight it. Every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. Does the enemy variety kind of pick up a little bit? Because I've been fighting a lot of ogres and a lot of cyclopses and goblins.
So with the larger enemies, I think there's a decent variety of them. The smaller enemies is not a huge amount of variety with them. Like there's going to be goblins, different types of goblins. There's like harpies, some lizards, and there's also different types of lizards, and then bandits, pretty much. So yeah, those are the main ones. So I think that's really the biggest thing people have said is like I could go with some more variety instead of them being different versions of a goblin or different versions of a lizard, that they would just be different enemies.
Yeah.
But the combat's been so fun for me that it doesn't bother me at all.
It's just, it feels like if the hobbits never picked up anybody else in Lord of the Rings, right? It was just the hobbits. I don't know. The game is really fun. Even if you're not into this kind of thing, like this game will get discounted eventually, right? And I would highly recommend almost anybody to pick this up because it's just the way these systems interact with each other. It just creates this atmosphere of just, I don't know, just like fun adventuring. And like
it is. It really
I don't know
is.
I'll ever finish this game, but I'm having fun with it when I play it.
Yeah, it's really they've done an incredible job of just capturing silly adventure, and it all feels very organic. Of all of your experiences feel organic and random. And they've done a really good job with that.
Yeah. There's like
Really good job.
there's serious characters in here, but it just doesn't fit for me, right? Like talking to like a quest giver who's like, all right, we need to infiltrate the castle. You're gonna have to, go to this ball and like, very serious. This is serious stuff. We gotta, and then you get there and it's just hijinks. Like, it's just like, you don't know. You don't know what's gonna happen minute to minute in this.
We had a moment right before getting on the podcast where we were fighting a griffin. Me and one of my other pawns were holding on to the griffin.
Yeah.
Griffin has flown away. The rest of my party, I don't know what they're doing. So we're just there stabbing the griffin in the head, and then the griffin falls because it died from super far up. Lands on the floor. It's actually fine if you're on the griffin.
Okay.
If you're on the griffin,
just don't
it's
fall
okay.
off.
Just don't fall off, actually falling off. But if the griffin is dying, you hold on to the griffin as they fall to the floor. And that's just that kind of stuff is so much fun. And like I said, with the barrel, them throwing random barrels, or like I'll just look behind me and the mage will be doing a massive thunderstorm to blow up a box. Because again, gotta get the potatoes. There's so many fun things that happen. And even with 62 hours in, I'm still every single time I stream it laughing at what's happening with the group or encounters we have. And I think that's really special because I don't know if there's many games that can still make me laugh from just the randomness that happens with 62 hours.
Yeah.
It seems like variety is like, variety is what we search for in so many of our games, like trying to find that not doing the same thing over and over again, the monotony of that. And this game sounds like it like really nails down on the variety specifically to keep the humor up, the action up. Never know what you're gonna get.
Sometimes it almost feels like you're playing like a multiplayer game, but
it does,
playing by yourself. Like the randomness of these dummies that you're adventuring with.
And they do learn
The
based
dragon's
on
dummies.
like
Yeah,
what their
that's what
master
it's
has
called.
done. So I found that like my pawn initially wasn't great at using an ability where she boosts you up to get a chest and stuff.
Mm,
But now she's like way better at it because I just tell her to do it all the time.
yeah.
So she will do it more times than not now. So yeah, they do learn. Or like if you're someone who picks up loot in the middle of combat, the pawn will start doing it.
Yeah.
And
I
then
like
other
how there
pawns will
was
be like,
the
why are you doing it? We're still fighting. Yeah.
I like how there was the additional line of more times than not. Like they're
Yeah,
still
sometimes
not
I'm like,
great.
go. I was like, don't know. I don't know what you want from me. There is a mechanic in the game called Dragon's Plague.
Yeah, that
Um,
Oh
one's a little
yeah, this is
weird.
cool.
Yeah, so Dragon's Plague is something that pawns can contract by going to different worlds all the time and being around different worlds and being grabbed by dragons. So you can get this plague. And there's signs of it, like their eyes will glow red, they'll get headaches. If you order them around, they'll start being like, don't tell me what to do, I know what I'm doing. And you're like, that's suspicious. And if you leave them alone, what ends up happening is you rest at an inn and they will turn into a dragon and kill everyone in the town. Everyone's
The
dead.
quest givers, everybody,
All of 'em.
anybody in there.
Everybody dead.
Yeah.
And when you first come into contact with a pawn that has it, there'll be a pop-up. So before you get the pop-up, you're like, I can just rely on the pop-up. It's gonna tell me when something bad's happening. But after that pop-up, you're gonna have to like look at their eyes, see if they're holding their head with a headache. And so I came into contact, I was walking, and like people's pawns will randomly talk to you and be like, hire me. So she just talked to me, and I was looking at her, and her eyes were like flashing in and out red. So I didn't hire her, of course. I picked her up and I threw her in the river.
Nice.
So
Good
hopefully
decision.
I cured that person's pawn's plague.
Is there a cure?
The cure is to
No.
throw them in the river.
Yeah, you got
Oh,
it.
that's the cure. I
That's
thought
cure,
you just
yeah.
did it just for fun.
Yep. If you throw them, that will cleanse them of it and you'll be okay.
It's awesome.
So now I'm just ordering them to do stuff all the time just to make sure like there's plenty of time for me to see if they're being disobedient or sassy. I'm just
And-
ordering them all the time.
Sassy.
Go, come, stay, wait.
The pawns are, as far as I can tell, all created by other players, right?
For the most
So
part.
you're getting these pawns and you can see who made it. And then like I got one that was like Sydney Sweeney, right? Like
Sydney Sweeney.
right. And of course she's dressed in nothing, right? She's got like the
Yep.
bare minimum on.
Yep.
And she keeps running around saying, you know, I was in a party where the master only hired women pawns. Weird, isn't it? Like, God. Like, okay, all right.
Every time my pawn is like, now if I will step out and say, and I'm like, you're gonna mention the women thing, aren't you? We do have a lot of women in our ranks, and I'm like, we do have a lot of women. This is true. I hire pretty much only Beastren now, which is like the lion cat people,
Yeah.
because you can clearly tell when someone has just made their cat in the game. And there's just something really nice about knowing that I am hanging out with people's cats. So I saw one that was Bella. I'm like, gotta get that one. Gotta get the Bella cat. So we've got Bella, Ace, and Belias, all cats.
So when you get another pawn and keep them with you like that, like the other player can't have them who created them.
No,
originally?
they still have
like,
it. Yeah.
They still
they
have
still have
them.
it too.
Yeah. And when you send them back, you can give them gifts and stuff. You can give them a thumbs up. So it's also a way of like trading with each other. Because we had a situation in my community where someone locked themselves out of a quest because they didn't do something with a book. And another person who was in New Game Plus and didn't need the book was like, I'll put it on your pawn and send it to you. So
Nice.
Nice. That's cool.
Should we do some Twitter questions?
let's do it. Let's do it. Yes.
All right. I'm gonna start at the bottom here.
And now we're here.
Lone Wolf says, just to know you guys a little better, what did everyone on the panel major in college or uni? And did you pursue that line of work at all before becoming a content creator?
Yes. I did business management,
Yeah.
and I own my own business. So yeah.
Nice.
Oh,
I
that worked
I
out.
was going to be a forestry major,
Hmm.
and my roommate in college, his father worked for IBM, and he taught me how to use computers, and I kind of just like switched away from that. I had this like I thought I was gonna work at like a national park and like ride a white horse around, and the whole. Yeah, I wasn't
Still
really
time,
interested in
dude.
it.
I mean, you don't got to go to school for that part, I don't think, right? So just get yourself a white horse.
Yeah, just get a
You're
white
halfway
horse.
there.
I studied psychology. Did plan on pursuing it, but then started making YouTube videos.
Nice.
Here we are.
Nice.
Yeah, similar. I went to school for computer engineering. I was obsessed with Nintendo, as many people know. I had a dream of like, oh man, what if I could design the next Nintendo 64, you know? And the graphics chip in particular, like I was obsessed with graphics. So yeah, I wanted to be a graphics computer engineer. Probably would have ended up more like at NVIDIA or something like that. But yeah, I quit. I got a job offer from IGN because I was posting on boards and writing, my own news articles as a fan and stuff like that at the time. And I thought I'd go back to school, but having started down that journalist/creator path, I realized I loved it. So, and then I mean, getting into video, I should mention, like it started there, and then I realized I also loved video, and I spent most of my later end of the professional career, right, doing and creating video at IGN. So
That's awesome.
It's Romeo 1 says, why are reissues and remodels viewed as such a terrible thing?
It is?
Reissues and remodels.
Remodel of what? Like a reissue
reissues,
of
I
like
get it. Because reissues is like, oh, they reissued like this thing. There was something wrong with it. Whereas like remodel, that's like you remodel a room in your house. That's great. Who doesn't love a remodel?
Yeah, but that's what I'm wondering. What are they talking about? Like a reissue of an old movie or like a remodel of a house?
But like I like a reissue of an old movie when they like bring it out on like, oh, now they got 4K Ultra HD with
maybe
the Abyss just came out on 4K Blu-ray, and I want to pick up a copy.
Well, as they put it in the chat, this is a Destiny show. It's like, is this referring to? Is there such thing as a remodel in Destiny 2? A remodel?
Yeah, there are like reused weapon models. Is that if that's what they're talking about?
That's reused, though.
I mean, they do reuse weapon models all the time, and if they're talking about that, there is a huge uproar about that all the time. So I think it is in the context of Destiny weapons.
Probably. But like a remodel of a weapon would be the exact same weapon. They've remodeled it to have more detail and or changes. But anyway, without the semantics, let's assume they mean reissuing Mountaintop, I assume. And then I'm not sure about the remodel part. Let's assume that it's reusing old models to create a new weapon based on an old model. I don't care because like that's Destiny, meaning there's so many weapons that it kind of comes down to the feel and what's in the game at the time and the amount of it. And in other words, like, no, I don't want a bunch of reissued and remodeled stuff, to use those words, but it depends on what's out at the time, right? If that's all that's happening, then I'm kind of like, ugh. But if there's like tons, then I'm like, I don't care.
See, and I'm in the camp of like, I don't care at all what, like, yeah, that's cool to like get new stuff, but I am almost just as happy with reissued stuff. Like I'm like on the opposite end, just because they're always redoing either the way it feels with the new recoil patterns, or they're giving it new stats or new perks, or intrinsic perks is a big thing lately. They're adding intrinsic perks to weapons.
They are,
and as long as they're doing that stuff and it's not like the same perks just updated, like, because there was that time, was it in Destiny 1 when we had like a light level of stuff and then they were like, oh, use this infusion thing and make it, or we're reissuing this weapon and it's just, it's the exact same thing, then I don't like that. But outside of that, like as long as they're adding new perks to it, great. I'm happy to have new stuff to play around with.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's all new context, right? Like without trace rifle being introduced, right? Like it can look kind of boring, right? Without new types of, and so I hope Final Shape has something there. It's the same as like subclasses, right? Like they reissue subclasses, so to speak, and remodel them. But they've done it in a way where like they've been pretty dramatic. It's all context, you know. Like, yeah, I don't want the same pulse rifle over and over. I do want a brand new type of weapon as well.
Yeah.
But they can coexist in a way that I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with both.
I do wonder why people get, because the question is, why do people get so upset about it? And I do wonder what the answer to that question is. Like, I don't know because I'm not that person, but like it is like a constant community thing you see, like especially like even in the live stream the last few weeks, it's like recycled content, reissued stuff,
But
and it's
that's it, right? It's they're not getting new content at the time, and so they feel like they're giving old content. And in their view, I think they're like, oh, their team's not working hard enough to, you know, and it's like, well, they're just trying to stretch their way out as best they can to the final shape where I presume
They
there'll be
say
quite a
from
few
their
new
mother's
weapons.
basement where they have no job.
Perhaps.
Ethan Schmeathan says, love what y'all do. The show really makes Thursdays a lot better, especially today. Haven't had the best day. Plan to have friends over to make barbecue, but it's raining over here in Cali.
Oh no.
Any
Told
ideas for the best way? You son of a bitch.
I knew it was coming. He mentioned barbecue. Say it. What is it?
No, I'm not saying
Soon
it.
as he
I
said,
saw this one and I went through the same thing. I was like, oh, you had a
I
bad
knew it was
day. I'm so
coming.
happy we could make the day better. And I was
Exactly.
like, oh, it's a Briar one.
Yeah,
Good.
I hope it
soon as
rains
heard
all
barbecue.
week.
Briar.
Come on, Briar. You have to read it.
Knoxmorn says, hey guys, AQI update from Dubai. It's 124. Wait, air quality
Ooh.
index is 124? All right, quick air quality index check
Air
here.
quality
Oh, I
check,
believe it.
everybody. Air quality check.
Lego was saying it was 90 degrees Fahrenheit.
Is that like a
Minus
sandstorm?
31.
Is that what's going on?
31 air quality. Is
Yeah, I got a
mine.
24. I'm doing pretty
Oh,
good.
air quality. Sorry.
Wow. Hmm.
While picking up Dragon's Dogma, 98 hours in now, thank you.
Wow.
Holy smokes. I ran across Banishers Ghosts of New Eden. Never heard of that until this week. Have y'all played it? Thoughts?
I have played. I'll check how much I've played. But I have played it. I think I only really did one stream of it, and I plan to do more. I played 6 hours. I plan to do more because I was. So this is the thing with Banished Ghosts of New Eden. It's a very cool story and a very cool vibe atmosphere. It's very, very cool. Because the whole thing is that you are playing as people who banish ghosts. Like if people are struggling to move on after they've passed away, you go there and you help them go forth and not be stuck there. And it's set in like the New World pretty recently soon after people came to the New World. So that's the kind of vibe that is in. They're very racist, as you know, right away, because there is a black character in the game, and they're very like one of the first interactions you have is you roll up to a house to help them with their curse problem, and they say the help can sit over there.
Dang.
And she's like, actually, I'm the banisher. He's
Come
my
right out with
associate.
it, huh?
Yeah. So the stories in it are very cool, and they use a lot of like real Bible verses and real books, and a lot of it is grounded in reality, which I do love, and it's very creepy and very it's just got this very kind of horror, scary, curse, demon vibes. All things that I like very much. But the combat is definitely just okay. The combat is just okay. And I am someone who I do really struggle to get invested fully in games and be like, I cannot wait to play this game again tomorrow if the combat isn't hitting for me. So it's a game that I would love to go back to just to experience the atmosphere and the story. But combat wise, it definitely wasn't hitting for me.
This game looks like it's right up my alley. I'm putting it on my wish list.
I loved the stories. It's also a AA game. But the story, characters, voice acting, visuals, the choices that you have to make, because you have these choices of like, do I want to banish this person? Which there's a difference between banishment and like slowly walking someone into the light. Banishment is like more aggressive, but it's guaranteed it's gonna work. They're gonna be able to pass on. But I think it's a little painful for the spirit. or you can have like gently help them pass on, and that is sometimes it could fail. So that's why you're like, I don't know if I want to use that. And then there is another option that I won't say because of spoilers. So yeah, all of that. I love all of that. But combat.
What's
it's
it called
okay.
again?
Banishers Ghosts of New Eden.
Hmm.
It is also an RPG. So you have all the RPG mechanics, getting new weapons, armor, upgrades.
Yeah, I thought it looked all right. I had no time for it.
A lot of games.
It's definitely. I think it's a solid game. It's definitely
it just
a solid
came out
game.
in February.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those games that if you haven't taken a look at it and you kind of like what you were hearing there, it's definitely worth at least like looking at it, maybe putting it on a list, because it's not like it's a total miss and don't even bother.
Not at all.
I feel like sometimes games with names like that, like they fly under the radars, like in all these games coming out. It's like, wait, what was it called again? And it's like, just good. Definitely take a look. It's definitely worth a look. It's not.
It's very positive on Steam. It's
like
got a ton of 8, 9s out of 10s. It's $50 because it's a AA game. It's not AAA, so you're not paying full price. So yeah, I don't have anything like bad to say about it. I think it's one of those situations where, similarly with God of War, where it's not my kind of game.
Yeah.
Overall.
Oh, did you hear Night Souls got a release date?
I did see that. Yeah, real quick. I saw that. 9 Souls got a release date. It's 9 SOLS. SOLS. This game is very cool. I am a backer of this game. It's by Red Candle Games. I just think they're really, really talented group of devs. But I'm a backer of the game. I played a demo before, and it is like hand drawn.
Like way long.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's.
What do you mean
it's
by
definitely been a
backer?
while.
You pre-ordered and spent money on it, or is it
They had
it?
a way for you to back the game.
Oh, so you've invested in the game.
Yeah. There is currently a demo that you can download. I don't know how big that demo is. I don't know if it's the same one that I played, but you can get a demo right now. But this game is like, it's all hand drawn. It's a 2D action platformer, but the combat is Sekiro inspired. So it's like 2D hand drawn Sekiro.
I played this.
The vibe is so cool. Like just the whole story, they're like sacrificing these cat people to appease these machine gods, and it's such a cool game. Very excited.
Yeah, that's right. I played this demo, and I think the dev had popped in my chat.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, they were like going around, and as if I recall. But yeah, I recall it feeling pretty darn good. Sorry,
it does feel very good.
Did I go there?
No, you're good. I was just noticing it was cats, so of course Watts is backing it.
Yeah,
hand-drawn cats.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It does look very cool though. The art style is very awesome, and I'd be curious to see a game with those mechanics in that style.
Yeah, it works really well. I'm very excited for people to play this game. It's very cool.
Bugo16 says, "What's your favorite Schwarzenegger film?"
Ooh.
I don't know how many I've even seen.
I mean, Terminator 2 is just
Terminator
so
2,
fun.
Yeah, that's so fun. Predator is really good.
I think I'd pick T2 over Predator. I do like
That's
both,
what comes to mind.
Raw Deal was pretty good. God, there's so many good ones. Really, True Lies was really good.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about True Lies.
The first Terminator, where he's just this like unstoppable force, too, was really good.
Yeah,
like it's definitely not as like fun as Terminator 2, but he's just this like menace.
The OG Total Recall too.
Oh yeah, forgot about that one. God, he was in so many movies back in the day.
Yeah, that's one of those questions though that needs more context too, where it's like, I'm just, in the spirit of critiquing, but it's like, do you mean the best movie that he's in, or his best performance based on him? Him.
Whichever one you like the best. I'm gonna go with that.
Can we have Fran give ratings to Twitter questions?
I mean, I'm just saying, when you put together a top list, it's important to have criteria, because without criteria, somebody says, well, it's the most fun for me. And I'm like, you mean influential? And that's what you're saying? Anyway, it happened all the time, man.
There is
with,
a good documentary with him, and he talks about his like early life.
The new Netflix one?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, it's
like,
great. It's awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I'm
maybe I'd
interested
go
in
with that one just because it's so fascinating to learn how he became who he is. Like it's so bizarre.
Sorry, documentaries were not on the criteria, so
oh, my bad.
Speaking of documentaries, did any of y'all see that new Nickelodeon documentary that came out? Oh my gosh.
No, I'm not gonna watch that. I don't think.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
It
By
was
the way,
so sad.
they did one of those. Just did you watch the Stallone one, Briar? It's literally like
no, I
a
didn't.
brother. It's like a brother documentary to done in the same style, and of course, he even talks about Schwarzenegger. So
yeah,
definitely,
I will watch that because Stallone underrated. I think like the amount of like amazing shit he's put out. Like I mean, Rocky and First Blood, I think are American classics. Right? It's like undeniable for American classic movies.
You'd really like the doc because you're like just seeing him sort of like find himself that like he didn't even realize that he was a writer, but he was so passionate and ending up where he did and how it happens is really cool to see. And then also how he crosses paths with, Schwarzenegger. It's definitely a good doc.
I will watch that. Basil says, what game from past lives rent-free? What game from the past lives rent-free in your head? Mine is Booger Man. I had no business playing that as a kid. Have a great week. Booger Man. Oh, wow. That was an old Sega Genesis game where you literally flick boogers at your enemies.
Oh, wow.
Disgusting.
Really?
Yeah.
Must have been because it was a Sega game. I missed that one.
Yeah, it might have been.
I'm looking at the box art. I kind of remember this now. I mean, rent-free usually means like it's swirling around.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm getting into criteria crap again. Super Metroid probably, but I don't think about it that often until you ask. But
I'll give you an old game that like is just always in my head. I think about it maybe once a week. It pops into my head and I go, oh yeah. And that is The Haunting starring Poltergeist.
You did talk about that fairly frequently.
Yeah, I did. I don't know what it is with this stupid game. But it's where you're playing as like a dead guy who's trying to get this stuck-up rich family out of your house. Like you want to make their life scary. You don't want them to be happy. So you like jump into furniture and various other things to scare the family. And you're trying to successfully scare them so that they move. Yeah.
Awesome.
It was fun. It was a fun game.
I got two. I can't really narrow it down, but Symphony of the Night, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and BioShock. Because I'm just constantly seeing things in new games that like, I remember this from this game, right? It's like I just remember like this was the first time I noticed this anyway. I hope my wife has now AirPlayed onto my TV.
Yeah.
That is also my main monitor.
I think mine would be like it's got to be Ocarina of Time and Pokemon for me would be like the two that just constantly anything that I think of. I literally have Song of Storms from Ocarina of Time just constantly in my head. Like it's never not in my head.
That's fair. Yeah, I was tossed in Ghost of Tsushima's Legends mode, given how much I bring that up on.
Oh man, that was so good.
Does live rent free still, because I just want more of it.
Yeah, it's a shame they never did more of that.
Yeah, I keep bringing it up. I'm like, I hope that they would do crossplay and cross progression for the new PC version, but I don't think it's gonna happen, or they would have said so by now. Which is a freaking huge.
I wonder how successful that was.
Yeah, freaking good game though.
The game was successful. Yeah. I wonder how much like that Legends mode was successful.
No, that's what I thought you meant. Yeah,
like if they made a sequel, would they expand on that Legends mode? Because I liked it better.
It's one of those games. Regular game. It's one of those games where one of the few games where I'm like, I wish this turned into a live service, or at least like live service in the way that Monster Hunter does it, right? Because that's like a game that gets updates, but it's not quite live service where you're getting, somewhat frequent updates, and then you get a big expansion, and then they kind of call it something.
Yeah, it's just they did it so well in that it's a separate mode that it's not like it doesn't make the mistakes that Suicide Squad makes, which is like you should have just made Suicide Squad Harley, which is like her story, do it like Batman, whatever. That's what I would have wanted, single player, etc. And then you had a mode, which is like, oh, they got this like side mode, and it's like live service. It's got man, and that's why Ghost of Tsushima Legends did so well. And it's funny even looking at like Helldivers, it doesn't have any of the story and all that. They're like, it's just gonna be, we're just focusing on instant gratification, live service stuff, and I'd have a lot to say about what they did there, but we need more of that is the point. I would be surprised if the next Ghost of Tsushima doesn't at least have a slightly, enhanced version of that plan, given how much Sony wants live service. Why would they take something that was generally revered and not just be like, yeah, let's do it a little deeper this time?
Yeah, and that raid too. Like, holy shit, that raid.
So good.
I think every
The
Destiny
raid
player
so
should
good.
play that raid.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you'd love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they did a they did a Destiny raid as Ghost of Tsushima, and we were
really
like
did.
shocked.
It was
We're like,
so
wait,
fucking good.
it is a raid. Like, wasn't that the reaction? I had that reaction. I was like, I
Yeah.
thought it was, oh, it's gonna be like kind of like a raid, but you're like, no, this is a raid.
Yeah.
And it follows like a very familiar structure of like encounter traversal section, encounter traversal section.
Yeah.
And yeah, they did an incredible job.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
The last boss fight was my favorite too because everybody had to 1v1 that boss to get through. Like, so everybody had to carry their weight. It was awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's funny hearing you talk about it. I'm like, they could very easily like bring all of that content back, put it back online. Maybe that's what they're doing. But anyway, put that back online with a Ghost of Tsushima sequel, but then double it and more, right? And say, not only have we got that and that old raid, if you missed it, the modes there, but also we're adding all this stuff. Would be cool. And then have all these new levels and be easy win. Rent free. See, everybody's got a rent free in their head.
I have a few that just kind of scramble around in my head all the time.
Yeah. Zachary Richin says, what's the closest monument / national park you live next to? For me, the closest monument is Kennecott Copper Mine. So huge on a clear day. You could see it from outer space. And
what's it called?
Oh, wow.
The Kennecott Copper Mine. And UT has so many national parks, we'd be eating good. Is UT Utah?
Kennecott.
Kennecott Copper Mine.
Copper Mine. Interesting.
We have national parks all over the place, but nothing you can see from space. We have a lot of national forest or state forest. Actually, we have more state forest.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know.
It's weird that is that a national park? Because it's like, meaning it's literally, it's a dugout
monument
copper mine.
as well.
Oh, monument. I see.
Yeah.
It does look cool. I was just looking it up. Yeah, I mean, me living in San Francisco, it's like, man, you're next to like where the Ewoks were in Muir Woods there, and obviously we've got Yosemite, which is I forget how many hours away, but I've actually never been to Yosemite because it's so popular. Obviously, it's really got a plan.
Been thinking about going soon. We got McKinney Falls pretty close to us. It's like just where some rivers meet up and just makes like cool rock formations as the water goes through, like holes you can like literally like get in like little spots in the rocks. It's pretty cool. It's got like places to swim and stuff.
New says, do you guys listen to any podcasts, and what are your favorite ones? The Kind of Funny podcast is one of mine. Also, everyone should watch Shogun. You're fucking damn right everybody should watch Shogun. Damn, it's a good show. So good. You know what's funny? We were watching Shogun, and we watched the last episode, and it's subtitled, right? The Japanese people speak in Japanese. Did you guys know that show was written in English, then translated to Japanese for the Japanese speakers, and then translated again by like a period correct, somebody who would know period correct Japanese. And then for the subtitles and stuff, it was translated back into English.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
Cool. Love that. That's how I felt with Final Fantasy 16, how they wrote out the story in Japanese, and then they just like the general story, and then they had them actually fully flesh out the story in English first, so that it would be, it's very Game of Thrones-y. kind of world. So to have it feel more authentic to that experience. I love it when people do a lot of stuff with their voice or writing or love that. Like Tales of Kanzetta, which is a Metroidvania coming out pretty soon. They're gonna allow you to play in English, but you can also play in Swahili. So I was like, cool. How often do I get to play a game in Swahili? I'm gonna try Swahili for sure. Yeah, I love that.
Favorite podcast right now for me is the one I'm listening to right now is Shift F1, which is former Giant Bomb guys who do a podcast about F1 racing, and they're pretty good at it.
Crazy.
I hadn't even heard of that.
Yeah.
I like listening to Now Playing. It's just like a movie review, dissection, critique podcast. I used to listen to Reply All a lot whenever they were around. And yeah, those are the main two.
Yeah, it's hard to find time because I like listening to music usually when I have my headphones in, or if I'm working, like I can't listen to like a podcast on the side. I have to just focus on my words or whatever. But I do sometimes listen to at the Game Awards I had met, or maybe it was DICE a while ago. I met these folks that do this show called Virtual Economy, which is about the gaming industry economy and stuff. Definitely check it out if you're into like the business side. It's not even like that boring from business, but it is focused on like, because that's what they provide, more that biz side insights of like it's all about, right, the latest layoffs, the performance of financials quarter on quarter, and yeah, it's a unique gaming podcast. So Virtual Economy is a good one to check out.
I don't listen to a ton of podcasts. I normally do like YouTube video essays that I listen to in the background. Like any kind of long form YouTube video, which tends to be a video essay or something in those general kind of lines. Those are the things that I have on the background like all the time. Pretty much all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's definitely what I end up doing more than anything is listening to YouTube stuff nowadays.
Yeah, that's what I
when I started driving my wife to and from work recently, she was shocked at how much I have YouTube on in the car. But it's like, it's like that kind of stuff. It's like you're listening to it. Also, I fall asleep a lot with YouTube on, and they have this age. Like I like documentaries when I'm falling asleep because it's just interesting enough that it keeps the demons at bay, but it doesn't keep me awake. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, same.
But does it keep the demons at bay whenever you leave YouTube on and then it just goes down this rabbit hole while you're asleep and you wake up and you're like, what is this?
Being brainwashed in his sleep.
Usually the ear pod falls out at some point.
Yeah, it's in the bed somewhere. And I'm like, I'm laying on it. There it is. Found it.
I'm going to do two more questions and wrap it up. Devarian says, do you have a favorite kind of donut?
White frosting with sprinkles.
White frosting?
All donuts. Come on.
It's like almost like a cake.
Yeah, that sounds good. Huh. I was like filled donuts.
I like filled ones too.
Boston creams or like
classic.
Jelly donuts even. Yeah. But like I love donuts, so I'm like,
I don't really like fancy donuts as much as like plain basic Dunkin'.
I was gonna say I like
plastic donut with a little bit of sugar on it at like a fair. It's really nice.
Oh
yeah, that's pretty good.
It's like an elephant ear, even
Do funnel cakes donuts?
Yeah. But I was gonna say, like, like, is it Portland? Did Voodoo Donuts start there? Don't they have it in Seattle too? Or I don't know. But
no idea.
They'll do like I'm looking at their website now. They got like cereal milk, and it's like Fruity Pebbles on top, and all that sweet and slightly tart raspberry filling, adorned with dazzling burst of raspberry dust. I'm like, yeah, donuts are awesome. Really? I mean, I'll eat all of them. You know what I mean? It's hard to pick. That's all I'm trying to say.
My wife likes that, likes a fancy donut place like that. She'll bring them home, and I'm always like, oh man, I don't know, like,
really?
I think I'd rather just have like a donut.
It's a regular.
Yeah, see, whenever we were in Portland, they brought, it was like they had the Voodoo Donuts, but somebody brought these ones called Blue Star. I guess they were like a competing, like, fancy donut one. And dude, Blue Stars, like, just plain donuts were so good. I was like, no, give me the plain, just great donut. That's what I want.
Yeah, I will say I do. That could be one of the fifths. Yeah, just standard glazed donut, done super well. It's a good one.
There is a place around here that does yellow donuts in Austin. and it's like super popular. It's in Round Rock, I think, and it's so good. I don't understand why they're yellow, but you can like order like a Texas sized one, and it's like the size of a cake, and it's just a donut, a yellow donut, and it's amazing. So high recommend if you're in Austin, go get a yellow donut.
On my list then.
The Mohegan 9, this is the last question of the night. Thank you all for so many great questions. I'm sorry I couldn't get to them all. We just we had so much stuff to talk about during the podcast.
So much news.
I'll try to remember to cherry pick some out for next week as well. Mohegan 9 says, could you eat $1,000 of McDonald's in 3 days? I'm gonna add to this question.
Don't try it.
Let's imagine it's like a Brewster's Million situation where if you do this, you win a large sum of money.
Is it enough to pay for your heart attack and hospital stay?
Let's say $1 million.
I just want
to know, do you think you could physically do it?
Days.
1,000 in 3 days. So even if you do all 3 meals, there's no way. It must be so many calories no matter what you do.
The most expensive thing on a McDonald's menu is in Lebanon, the Grand Chicken Special for $27.19.
Wait, they have a sandwich for $27.19 at McDonald's?
Yes. Yeah.
What the fuck is going on in McDonald's?
But even then, do the math, right? That's like 30 of those sandwiches or whatever.
You can spend $20 quite easily at McDonald's now.
Yeah.
It's not fast food ain't as cheap as it used to be.
Yeah.
And again,
how many $20 meals would you have to spend for $3,000?
Yeah.
Or $1,000.
For $1,000, yeah.
Yeah, you could remove, because tax, I assume.
36.
Not enough criteria, meals. So.
And you said a week?
3 days.
3 days.
Oh, 3 days. That's not very
37
that's
in
not
3
a long
days.
time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even if, because like in my mind, I'm like, even if you try to game the system, like, oh, but they sell bottles of water, I'm just gonna do that. $1,000 in water bottles,
you
like you're
die
gonna
from
die.
hypoxia.
Like, yeah, of every version, I think you're gonna end up with some kind of acute problem.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
like, what are you gonna?
I don't think you can
like
do
diet soda, even right? How many diet pops would you have to have?
37 isn't that bad.
Yeah, I said pop
like
intentionally.
Just trying to process that amount of
37
stuff
burgers.
through your body in that amount of time, I just don't think it's possible.
Yeah, I was like, how much is?
But
like
I would fucking try it for $1 million.
I'd certainly try.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if like that much sounds.
So people like a 10-piece chicken, 10-piece nugget meal is $31, $18.50.
What? A 10-piece is not $31.
Yeah,
that's the hack. Right. You got to do it at the airport.
Oh, there you go. That is
even then.
That is the hack. You go to the airport.
Go to the airport. Everything's twice as much money.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be done.
That's a good idea. Yep.
I bet, you know what, the real hack, now that you're saying, I'm like, if there was enough on the table, I bet you there's like some McDonald's that does serve like some crazy, somewhere in the world, right? They're like, well,
the
this
Dubai
is like
airport.
Yes, exactly. Like some crazy, like, well, this is our gold foil wrapped cheeseburger.
I'll take two.
It's like unique. Yeah. And you could game it, and then you get your money back,
Yeah. That's the hack,
Only
man.
way.
We got to go to Dubai's airport McDonald's.
And then DoorDash it from the Dubai airport.
Watts, you're a genius.
DoorDash. That is the way.
Somebody's getting a massive tip on this one.
Yeah, I just thought it was a tip at DoorDash. Like, well, I did it.
I'm gonna get a milkshake with a $900 tip.
Beautiful.
Yep.
All right, thank you all for joining us. Got another one coming next week. More Destiny news. We got the final shape reveal. Well, not
final
reveal,
shape
but,
reveal.
Like
it's something. Something's happening.
More video games.
The trains are rolling.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
I think.
See you next week.
All right, have a great week. Bye.
Bye.